All parties in the matter of Anderson versus Liebler, step forward, please.
22-year-old homemaker Shauna Anderson is suing her ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old clerk Caleb Liebler, for an unpaid loan for bail. Caleb says he paid her back.
Miss Anderson, the defendant was a former boyfriend of yours.
Yes.
There came a time when you were angry with him about something, and according to you, you knew that he had stolen something.
Yes.
A stereo, a car stereo. And in order to get back at him, you told the person from whom he had stolen the stereo that he stole the stereo. Is that right?
It wasn't really to get back at him. I knew the person. And
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
You weren't being a good Samaritan.
no.
He was arrested.
Yes.
And you felt a little bit guilty, so you decided you would help him out and bail him out.
Yes.
The bail money was $500.
Yes.
Then, according to you, he asked you if he could use that bail money to pay his lawyer.
Yes.
You said, okay, but it's a
Yes.
loan.
Yes.
Now, you, Mr. Liebler, acknowledged that it was a loan.
Yes.
Your defense is that you paid her back.
Yes.
Okay? So now we have the facts, and now you have to show me how you paid her back. Right?
Yes.
When did you take the $500 and give it to the lawyer? What date?
Sometime in April
April
of
5th.
2000.
Of 2000.
Of 2000. This case is 14 months old.
When did you pay her back?
I paid her back from that point on until I left for jail at the end of August.
How did you pay her?
I paid her in...
Don't look at me. Don't look at
I'm
the
sorry.
sky.
I paid her back in payments. We worked together at Friendly's. We lived together
From April until August?
earlier than that.
He did not live with me.
I lived with her
Don't
in that
speak.
residence from February until May.
When did you start paying her back? After you
I
separated?
started paying her back after I left.
After you left the house?
I went back home, still working with her though, at Friendly's. We ended up getting back together.
Okay.
I did not move back with her. I stayed at home, but we were together.
You saw each other?
Right.
Fine.
And whenever she needed money on the weekends, she'd come up to me saying, "You owe me money. I need money this weekend. I'm broke. Can I get paid? You know, can you give me something?" So I would give her $60, $80 here and there. She does not have a license. She doesn't have a car.
Don't go into extraneous stuff.
I'm not.
You would give her $60, $80.
I'm not.
You have to
never
tell me
gave me-
when.
When? On weekends, Fridays, Saturday nights.
May
Like,
2000.
I don't want to hear from you now. It's up to him to convince me that he's paid you back. So I have weekends, $60 or $80.
Yeah, from the end of May through June, on weekends, Friday, Saturday nights. She comes up to me at work. "I want to go to a rave. I want to go to the club. I want to go out this weekend. I have no money. Do you have something for me?" Would she even ask me for a receipt, but I'm being at work. I'm a cook. I'm greasy and stuff like that. I'm not going to take a receipt and stuff in my pocket. So I just never asked for a receipt. I would give her money on weekends. She lived a half an hour from her job, so there was certain times where I'd actually give her money for hotel rooms to stay in, so she did not have to drive back up to
true
Saratoga, to go home, because she doesn't have a car. Sometimes we'd work until 2 o'clock in the morning. I paid for hotel rooms just for her to stay in.
You stayed in them too.
Right. Right?
Sometimes,
All the time.
not all the time.
Miss Anderson,
We
stop doing the weave dance and keep your mouth closed until I ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
What else, Mr. Liebler?
What else? I'll have to say that while I was living with her, there was many expenses.
No, I'm not talking about before. Before May, I'm not interested in.
I gave her money, handouts, whenever she needed it.
Handouts is not the return of a loan.
But that's what it was in terms of. That's what she'd bring up.
Just a
She'd bring
second.
up, "You owe me money."
Mr. Liebler, you added in this pot motel rooms that you paid for that you also stayed in.
No, not all the time.
yeah.
How many times?
I'd say
I'm sorry.
twice. I'd say at least twice.
At least twice, maybe 3 times.
No, twice.
Well, get a receipt. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Next time, get a receipt.
Of Wright, Parker versus Van Tine. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Parker, the defendant had been a friend of yours.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, on the 17th of August, you asked her to watch your dog, a small dog, Pomeranian.
Yes, ma'am.
And on the 20th of August, you contacted her to get the dog back, and she refused to give the dog back to you, and she has
Yes.
not given the dog back to you to this day. Is that right? Mm-hmm. The defendant has a counterclaim She says because the dog has been with her now for 81 days, she wants to be paid for boarding the dog. And the second defense that she has is that she actually purchased the dog for $1 from your estranged husband. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Shh. Okay. Tell me the circumstances of the defendant coming into possession of the dog on the 17th of August.
I was having some problems at home with my stepchildren that I've raised for 10 years. My husband was an over-the-road truck driver. And I got very upset, and I called him, and I asked him to please come home and help me straighten it out. So he said that he would do that. He was going to deliver the load he had, and he would come home. About an hour later, my stepdaughter informed me that she was leaving. She wasn't going to take this anymore, whatever this was. And she was leaving and had someplace she and her brother could go. So I was very upset, and I just said, well, you know, Danielle, I can't take this anymore. You've been threatening to leave for a year. I said, the door's not locked. If you need to leave, then leave. And so they did. So I spoke with my husband several times during the week. Apparently, he had spoken with Danielle. She had called him on his cell phone and told him...
That's his daughter?
Yes. That she would tell him where they were if he promised not to tell me, so he made that promise to her. And when he informed me of this, I said, you shouldn't have done that because I'm here and I'm in charge of them and I should know where they are. Well, a week went by. He called me on the 16th at noon and said he'd be in on the 17th. We'd get the kids home, we'd get it all straightened out, and everything would be fine. When the 17th came, he was going to call me to come pick him up because he can't park his truck where we live. So he didn't call, and he didn't come home. And by 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I got really concerned. I thought he was in an accident. So I called his dispatcher, who told me he was in the area, but he couldn't tell me where he was because my husband had told him not to. So that night, I got very, very depressed. And I had talked to Miss Van Tyne through the week, and she knew what I was going through. And the children were at her house, but she never said anything to me about it. As a matter of fact...
Is she a friend of the family?
She was my friend. I had lived across the street from her for almost a year.
Okay, so now we're at the 17th of August, and
Yeah.
you don't know that the children are at her house?
No, because she had told my daughter the next time that she was fed up with me to just leave the house and
That
call.
is not true.
Whatever.
Maria.
Let's get to the dog.
All right. She had watched my dog twice in the past for me. And she always told me, you know, she's no problem. Anytime you need me to watch her, just bring her down. It's no problem. I never had a problem getting her back or anything.
Okay, so what happened on the 17th?
I called her at 7 o'clock at night. And she said to me, I have a date with this, I don't know, some doctor that had called her and wanted her to go out on a date. So I won't be here. She says, just drop her over the fence. She'll know enough where to go.
That's not true.
I'll get to you in a minute.
And I said, okay, fine. So about 8:30 I got there. I went in the backyard, and I put Tiffany through the doggy door. So I left and went home. The next morning, I was a little bit better emotionally, and I really missed Tiffany, so I called her house and left a message to call me. Well, she never called Saturday. I did the same thing on Sunday, and she didn't return my call. And Monday, I went to the cell phone company, found out my husband had been talking to Debbie through the week on the cell phone, so I knew then where him and the kids were. So I went to Debbie's to get the dog, and nobody was home.
Okay. Now, how old is this dog?
She just turned 7.
When did you get her?
I got her in October of '94.
How long have you been married?
3 years.
So you had the dog previous to your being
4
married?
years before I got married.
Okay. I'll hear you now.
Okay. First of all, the children called me very distressed. I had never met her estranged husband, Dean, up until the children had been with me for a week. And the only reason that I did befriend this woman was because of the things that I had seen going on with the children.
Okay.
And so,
let me
nevertheless,
let me get by that for a moment. The children came to your house, and you made an arrangement with her husband to keep the children at your house. I'm putting 2 and 2 together until he got back.
Right.
He came back sometime around the 17th of August. Did he stay in your home with the children?
he did he rented a room for me until they got an apartment.
When did they move out?
I guess they stayed about 3-4 weeks.
Okay.
Now, I did tell her that I could not watch this dog. She
No, you
called
did
me,
not.
and I told her...
Don't interrupt her.
When she called me, I did not want to watch the dog because of what was going on domestically with these children.
Okay.
I didn't want her having any contact with them or to risk their safety again. So I did tell her I couldn't watch the dog. She then, and my neighbor did witness her throw the dog over my fence. She didn't put her
was
in the
dark
doggy
out.
door. this is in August at 7. It isn't dark at 7 in August. But
do
my
it
neighbor
dark.
did see her throw this dog over my fence. And so when I get home after telling Laura that I could not watch her, the dog is there.
But then we come to the 20th when she did in fact come back for the dog.
Right.
So
and
why,
I have
my
the-
question to you, Miss Van Tyne, is why did you not give her back her dog on the 20th?
Well, because she called the Charleston.
Shh.
She called the Charleston Police Department, and I do have the police report from that here. And he does state that she was irate and also threatened to drive her van through my house.
That's not what I said.
And yes, ma'am.
I'm asking you, why
And
didn't
I mean,
you
the
give...
reason that because I was not there when she came for the dog, I
With
told
my
her I'm not
husband.
going to be home.
Miss Parker, if you interrupt again, you're going home empty-handed. Do you understand?
Anyway,
You
I
gotta
wasn't home.
give me a good answer. She wants her dog back. You know she wants her dog back. Why didn't you make arrangements to get her dog back through the police department the next day?
Because of the harassment that was going on with her, and then I was advised by the police officer not to have contact with this woman since she had...
So you give the dog to the police officer, and the police officer brings the dog to her house. End of conflict.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Laura Wright Parker says former neighbor Deborah Van Tyne refuses to return her Pomeranian named Tiffany. Deborah says Laura abandoned the animal in her backyard.
Miss Van Tyne, you had no right to keep her dog after the 20th. So there goes your counterclaim. You want her to pay so much a day for the 81 days that you've boarded this dog. That's ridiculous because she wanted her dog back and you should have given her dog back. Now, you say that you bought the dog from her husband for $1?
He purchased the animal. He's the one who purchased the animal in the beginning in '94.
If her husband purchased this dog for her in 1994, this was her dog and he has no right to sell it for $1 or $10 or $20. So pick a time that's convenient for you to bring the dog to the police station so that the dog can be transported to the plaintiff's home.
I guess this weekend.
Perfect. As far as your counterclaim is concerned, reimbursement for dog care, forget that. Related expenses, forget that. Pain and suffering.
Yeah, her, threatening my life. Her brother's calling me from New York, threatening to whack me.
Why don't you just give her a dog back?
This was not over the dog. This was over the children.
Listen, you never get in the middle of two married people. That's not a very smart
Well,
thing
the
to
children
do.
being abused and no one else being there.
Listen.
He asked me to take the children into a safe place, and I did.
But then you kept both he and the children in your home for a month. It's not a very good idea. You should have given her dog back on the 20th. That was a very foolish thing to do. Judgment for the plaintiff. The dog will be returned. I will prepare an order.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I have one question.
Yes.
I also put down that I'd like some kind of compensation for emotional distress and pain and suffering.
That you don't get.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
All I care about is I came out here to get my dog, and that's what I got.
She was beating the children and the
Of
animals.
course not. You don't make best friends.
I wouldn't hesitate to step in and help again. Not in the least.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gilmore versus Jones. Step forward, please.
44-year-old air traffic controller Kevin Gilmore is suing Melinda and James Jones for a bicycle accident caused by their dog. The Joneses say Kevin is also at fault.
Mr. Gilmore, your complaint is that the defendant's dog caused your bicycle to crash with you on it.
That's correct.
And you want to be compensated for your medical bills, your pain and suffering, and basically for the injuries that you sustained.
That's correct.
When did this happen?
On June 14th,
Where were you?
I was riding my bicycle in front of the defendant's home. It's a rural two-lane highway, and as I approached the defendant's house, their dog came up out of the ditch and ran in front of me. I had no chance.
Where was there a ditch?
I have photos of that here.
Can I see it, please?
The arrows point the direction I was coming from and going. And a dog could easily have been in there and not be seen.
So you assume that the dog came out of this area
That's
here?
correct.
Which
Right
is
in
where
there.
the ditch was?
That's
Okay.
correct. So as I approached that area where the X is, the dog ran out in front of me. I had no chance to avoid it. I had traffic on my left, and I grabbed onto the handlebars as tight as I could, knew I was going to hit the dog. I hit the dog, flew through the air, landed on my right side, and hit my head pretty hard, cracked my helmet, was unconscious for, I think, several minutes. I'm not sure. When I came to, there were several people standing around me. An ambulance had been summoned and the police were on the way. I was taken to the ER of the local hospital and I was treated for my wounds, given some medication for pain.
What kind of dog was this? Do you know?
It looks like a black lab mix, maybe a 60 or 70 pound dog, 18 months old, full of energy. No problem trying to keep up with the biker, I guess, but damage to my bike was pretty significant. It's an expensive bike. I think I paid over $5,000 for it. I have a receipt for that initially.
Did you have any opportunity to speak to the defendants?
Yes, I did.
When?
Actually, that night, my wife spoke with Mrs. Jones.
On the telephone or in person?
On the telephone.
Wife? Yeah. Step up. Is it Miss Gilmore?
Mrs. Gilmore, yes. I spoke to Mrs. Jones just to get the information about their address, and I just wanted some basic information. I asked how the dog was, and I told her that my husband had been hurt pretty badly, and that we were probably going to be compiling the costs of out-of-pocket expenses. So
what did she say?
She didn't say much of anything. She was pretty quiet at the other end.
How did she say the dog was?
She said the paw was hurt on the dog, but the next day my husband had talked to him, and I think it was hurt pretty badly.
Do you have any photographs of your injuries?
Yes, I do, ma'am. And it's my contention, ma'am, that the owners knew that this dog was a hazard to bicyclists. On August 20th, after I'd compiled all of my expenses, I had been playing telephone tag with the Jones, trying to get a hold of them so I could drop off my receipts. And on this day I called and I got a hold of one of their children. They said, no, it's okay, you can bring the receipts by. So I did. I brought the receipts by and I asked if I could see the dog. I wanted to see how it was doing. And I was petting the dog, and the son offered information to me that I thought was very interesting. He said that the dog has been maced, it's been hit at with bicycle pumps. To quote him, he said there's one older biker who says he's going to kill that dog if it puts one more paw on the pavement.
May I see the police report?
Sure. He states that the dog was tied up. When it saw me, it worked its way loose from the collar, and it ran down the driveway and chased me down. Well, their daughter stated to me that when they saw me coming down the road, they were all saying, "Where's Molly? Where's Molly?" They couldn't find Molly until it was too late. And the boy said, "You hit Molly and you look like you were Superman flying through the air."
Mr. Jones, tell me where you were on the date of this incident.
I was standing in the driveway. The dog was on a leash at that particular time. And she apparently had seen him coming. She pulled her head out from the collar, and she had cut him off. Mr. Gilmore was riding fairly close to the edge of the ditch because she didn't even clear the grass hardly when he hit her. And when I got there, he was not unconscious. The first thing he said to me was, "What happened?" And I had stated to him at that point that he had hit my dog. I guess my deal is that Mr. Gilmore created this incident. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and my dog happened to pull her head out and run him down.
Your Honor, may I speak?
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore was riding his bike 35 to 40 miles away from his own residence on a major highway. There's 2,500 miles of bike trails in the state of Minnesota. I know that it's not against the law to ride your bike on a highway, but they're dangerous.
They're not dangerous unless there's a dog off a leash.
She wasn't off the leash, ma'am.
Yes, she was. She was off the leash. Now, if I believe the baloney story that she was on the leash and she managed to wiggle her neck out of the collar, which I don't believe for a second, but let's say I woke up this morning in a good mood and I believe that story, you're still responsible, because the collar should have been tight enough so that the dog couldn't whittle out of the collar, especially since you knew that the dog had previously enjoyed chasing cyclists. Okay. Mr. Gilmore, am I correct that what you really wanted from them was your expenses, the
That's all I
out-of-pocket
asked for
expenses?
initially. I asked for them to pay my out-of-pocket expenses. And then they got difficult about that. They said
It
that...
started
Your
out
Honor.
at $500, went to
Your Honor.
$1,500, and
The day
then you
that-
jacked it up $1,500 more after the fact.
The day that this had happened, as Mrs. Gilmore had stated, yes, I did talk to her that evening, and when she asked how my dog was, I told her that her shoulder had been ripped open, but she's going to be fine. She had told me $500 will take care of everything. Mr. Gilmore had called me the following day and said, my wife had no right stating to you that $500 would take care of it. I need to get my bills together to come up with a total. And
Okay,
I said
that's fair.
that's fine. He did that.
He did that. So what were the
Yes,
bills that he
when-
presented you with?
He presented a bill of $1,192. So
Okay.
now it has gone from $500.
No, it didn't go from 500. No,
to the
Miss
1,200.
Jones, it didn't go from 500. If his wife said that to you, $500 should cover it. And then he called you immediately and he said to you, my wife should not have said that to you because I don't have all my bills together yet.
Exactly.
So he got the bills together and he brought them over to you. So why didn't you pay him?
We felt that
No, I didn't ask you. I'm asking her.
Because I was not able to get back to him.
When did you finally get back to him?
He had called.
When did you get back to
I
him?
did not, ma'am.
Well, then that's the answer. You never bothered to call him back. Okay.
Your Honor. How can we go from almost $1,200 to over $3,000?
Because he's also suing you for pain and suffering. Those were his out-of-pocket expenses. He wasn't asking you for $3,000 then. It was only when you blew him off and didn't call him that he sued you. He said, I'm going to get some pain and suffering out of this too.
But when I said to Kevin that I was surprised that he wasn't willing to accept any of the responsibility of this incident, that's when it got jacked up.
It is not his responsibility. It is
It
your
was an
responsibility.
accident that was just something that, a freak thing that had happened.
No. Listen to me, sir. Accidents happen. That's why we have insurance. If you drive a car, which I'm sure you do if you live in a rural area, you have insurance on your car because very few people, unless they are demented, go out into the street with a vehicle intending to cause injury or damage. That's why we call them accidents. This was, in fact, an accident, but it was an accident caused by your dog because your dog was off the leash.
So if I had been in my vehicle backing out of my driveway and he had hit me, he is not any at all responsible?
You don't seem to get the drill here in a court. In a court, I ask the questions and you answer the questions.
I understand
So
that.
far, you've answered the questions and you've gotten most of them wrong. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. 113 on the calendar in the matter of Dana versus Frowner. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat, please.
Ms. Dana, the defendant is the father of your boyfriend or ex-boyfriend. Is it ex?
Correct, ex-boyfriend.
Ex-boyfriend, who is currently in jail.
Correct.
You claim that you had a contract with the defendant, and it was a verbal contract.
Correct.
That you and the soon-to-be ex-boyfriend had a car. The car was in Mr. Fowler's name, but you were making payments on it.
Yes.
And you say that Mr. Fowler told you that if you continued to make payments faithfully on the car, as soon as the car was paid off, he would turn over the title to you.
Correct.
So you and the boyfriend drove the car till the boyfriend was arrested. You continued to make payments on the car, but then you no longer became a couple, and according to you, you believe that the boyfriend told his father you'd take back the car from her.
Correct.
Well, then you got pulled over for something. Didn't have insurance or the tags had expired on the car, and the car went into impound.
Correct.
See how easy I'm making this? But I'm going to ask you questions soon.
Okay.
I just have to start the story from beginning to end because otherwise Bird would lose interest.
Okay.
So the car went into impound and you wanted to get the car out of impound.
Yes.
But you couldn't get it out of impound because the title to the car is in Mr. Fowler's name.
Correct.
He wouldn't let you get the car out.
That's right.
And then he took the car back. And you want all the money that you put into this car.
Well, a portion, because I put over $5,000 into the car.
Mr. Fowler says, well, while you did have some sort of an agreement, the agreement was that he would let you drive the car as long as you paid for it, and that you did drive the car.
Yes.
But you were late on the payments. And he found out you were late on the payments when he went to try to get a loan out or something, and you were destroying his credit. His son might have told you not to get the car back, too. Is that right?
He insinuated that.
What?
In a way. He said that in a way, yes.
Listen,
that,
let's not play with each other, sir. He didn't say that in a way. He said, get the car back from her.
Yes.
Shh. Okay. So because you were late in your payments, and because his son told him to get the car back from you, he did, and he's counterclaiming because he says he was forced to pay impound fees because you didn't have tags on the car, and a parking ticket that you got. So that's what this case is about. Were you ever late on any payments?
Yes, I was late on payments. How?
How many?
I was late on a few payments. However, he never said not one time, if you're late on payments, that I'm going to take this car from you.
Well, what did you think he was going to do? Throw you a testimonial dinner?
No, but...
He was going to get you cake?
No.
Send you a bottle of champagne?
But he never said that he was going to take the vehicle from me. I understand
How old are
that
you?
I was late on payments.
How old are you?
I'm 31.
Did you ever own property before that you financed?
Yes, I had a vehicle at the time when I took over the car. When I took over his car, no.
Did you finance it through a bank?
Yes, I did.
Do you still have the car?
No, I sold the car after I took over the car with Mr. Frowner.
When you had your vehicle and it was financed through a finance company, what did you think would happen if you were perpetually late in making the payments?
They would then repossess the car.
Right! So you thought that it was okay to be late on your payments with Mr. Frowner?
No, I didn't think it was okay, but I was going through little problems at the same time. I was also helping his son out that was in jail.
That has nothing to do with the car.
Yeah, that's true. However, that was deceit from his son as well as him from the time that I met his son. He was a bank robber. I never even knew that. That's how I came in contact with even taking over the car note.
Shouldn't have done it.
I felt like I was doing them a favor. I had the car for 2 years, and at the time that he took the car, the payments were on time. He took the car out of my possession without even saying anything.
He didn't take the car out of your possession, Miss Dana. He took the car out of the pound because you were irresponsible in not having the car registered.
Ma'am, the registration was only not even 30 days late. The registration was due in February. I got the registration in March. And Mr. Frowner, the car was getting impounded, I called Mr. Frowner as the car was getting impounded.
Why did they take the car to impound?
Because the police officers were being jerks. They didn't have to impound that car.
Because there was no registration on the car that was current, is that right?
Yes, but it wasn't. They give you a 30-day grace period.
Evidently not, Miss Dana.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He didn't
When
even
did
have
you...
a job.
Shh. What is he in jail for?
He's in jail for robbing banks, Your Honor.
Well, then he had a job.
Can you believe that?
Robbing banks gives you money.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sherry Dana claims her ex-boyfriend's father, John Frowner, took back a car she was paying for. John says not only was she late with payments, but the car was impounded.
Seems like the world is against you. You're late in your payments on his credit. You weren't doing it on time because you had all kinds of other troubles. You were doing him a favor in taking over the payments on the car, according to you. You weren't doing him any big favor. The car gets repossessed. He's finished.
If I wouldn't have took over the payments, the car would have been repossessed.
Perfect. Then he would have been in no worse position than he is now.
But the car notes weren't late consistently for the 2 years that I
Doesn't
had the
make
vehicle.
any difference, madam. That affects his credit.
Yes, it affects his credit, but at the same time...
So you have no sympathy for me. You didn't do the right thing. You didn't make your payments on time. You didn't have the car registered.
I had the car registered before, prior to.
So?
It was just a few days behind.
Miss Dana, you're 31 years old. You have to grow up. You have a responsibility to pay a car note the first of the month. You pay a car note the first of the month. You have a responsibility to register the car by the 30th day of a particular month. You don't wait for what you perceive to be an automatic grace period of 30 days. You're not a baby. You're 31 years old. Okay. Stop blaming other people.
Okay.
How much did you pay every month for the car?
I paid $389 a month.
What kind of car was it?
It was a 2000 Monte Carlo. SS edition. And even before then, he should have said that before. He should have taken the car away from me in the beginning when the payments were first delayed. Why wait 2 years to let me practically pay off a car and then take the car from me? That's not fair.
Well, maybe we're going to find out. Mr. Frowner, how did you find out that the car payments were late?
From the finance company.
How did that come about?
Because they threatened to repossess the car.
Did they write you any letter?
Yes, they wrote letters.
Do you have those letters with you?
No, I don't have those letters. I have a history, a detailed history of the payments.
Let me see. What did you do with the car, sir?
I still have the car in my possession.
You still have the car in your possession. Are you making payments on the car?
Yes.
Okay. And in what year did Miss Dana start making payments on the car? When it was new in 2000?
No.
When?
July of 2001.
Was your son driving the car before that?
Yes, that's right.
And they were together?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you don't know who was making the payments, she or your son?
No, he was making the payments.
Okay.
He didn't
When
even
did
have
you...
a job.
Shh. What is he in jail for?
He's in jail for robbing banks, Your Honor.
Well, then he had a job.
Can you believe that. Just like I said,
quiet. Robbing banks gives you money. I'm not approving of it, but he had a car. The loan was being paid off because he was robbing banks. He was out there and he was employed. The fact that the government doesn't approve of his vocation doesn't mean that he didn't have money to pay off the car loan. Now, when did he go into prison?
March of 2000.
No.
When did he go into prison?
May of 2001.
501. Believe me, his father knows when he went into jail. And was it starting in May of 2001 that she started to make the payments, Mr. Frowner?
Your Honor, we put the car up for sale.
In what year?
In May of 2001, after he was incarcerated. He was supposed to get the money to obtain an attorney.
And what happened then, sir?
The car was on the lot to be sold, and someone broke into the car. He had a lot of equipment on there. Miss Dana, we got together and we went and got the car. Ever since then, Miss Dana had the car.
So she's been paying on the car for about a year.
Yeah, which I made some payments myself.
Show me.
That's a lie. That's it. That's a lie.
Do you have any proof, Mr. Frowner?
That's a lie.
Do you have any proof, Mr. Frowner, that you've been making payments on the car?
I wasn't making those many, but I did make some.
You have any proof?
No.
Then I find that you didn't make any.
Okay.
When was it impounded?
The car was impounded March the 14th.
March of 03.
Correct.
So she's been making payments about 22 months. Times 385?
389.
378.
I have a.
Let me see.
378.
And on this page, and even on that form right there, where I sent my payments through MoneyGram, it would even show where if I was late on the payments, I made up for the late fees and everything.
That doesn't mean his credit wasn't affected. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. I sure do.
Good. So if you think you're going to get all your money back, you're wrong. But Mr. Frowner can't take advantage of the entire situation. Do you understand that, Mr. Frowner?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
What kind of car had you traded in?
Well, I sold my 1997 Nissan Sentra to a coworker.
And what were your payments on that car?
$320.
And you plan on keeping this car, isn't that right, Mr. Frowner?
Yes, ma'am. I'm in the process.
$8,316 is what she paid so far. What interest was your loan?
15%. I have a copy of the contract.
Can I see it, please? You put down $9,000?
Yeah.
Remember what his son was doing. Taxpayer.
You didn't?
No.
Okay. I've deducted the interest, got about $58.82 if you take away the interest for 2 years. Now, how much do you think minimally you'd have to pay to drive around a car a month?
If I leased a car for 1 month, about $300.
Right. Well, I'm going to give you credit for $200. So it would have cost you about $4,400 or $200 a month to drive around in a new car. That's a lot less than you were paying on your old car, a lot less than you were paying on this car, because there's wear and tear and depreciation, and I'm not getting into that, but it seems to me you should get something. You should get something for the money that you put into the car, not $5,000.
But he agreed. I even have a witness here that stated that that I can have the car. So here's my witness.
You can't have the car if you were late. You were late in the payments. That was your agreement. You make the payments. You didn't make them on time. It's not your car. You didn't put down the $9,000 deposit. You're not going to pay off the rest of the loan. You drove around unregistered. You caused his credit to go down the toilet. You are not entitled to the car, madam. And if you don't understand it, I can't explain it to you any better. You got to do the right and responsible thing. He can't totally benefit from the fact that you made payments on this car for 2 years. You understand that, sir?
Yes.
You have to give her something, because she did, in fact, make payments, even though she was late. And I'm not going to let there be a windfall for you or for your son who is incarcerated. So you're going to give...
That's the only reason why he's taking the car away from me is because of his son. Before
that may be
no problem.
Miss Dana,
even with the car being
Miss Dana, if you had done everything right and you had made the payments on time and you had gotten the car registered and he came to your house and for no reason whatsoever took the car away from you, you would have gotten your $5,000. You didn't do everything right. You ruined his credit by making late payments. You didn't register the car punctually so that the car was impounded. Do you understand?
Yes.
So you didn't do everything right. Therefore, you don't come out a winner. You, however, sir, are suing her for the impound fees because you say at the time the car was impounded, you didn't have the money to get the car out on that day. Now, on that day, she wanted you to get the car out. So you're not getting your impound fees. You got a nice car and somebody else was paying the note on it. So don't cry to me. I'm not interested. And you're going to give her $1,472. That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, she breached the whole contract.
You never stipulated if the payments weren't on time that I would take the car away from you.
Was she trying to get her money?
His son was upset because I'm now no longer writing him or going to visit him out of state where I was spending thousands of dollars to do that.
I'm not being led by my son.
All this time, I'm thinking he's in the music industry and he's out robbing banks.
And now the next case.
All parties on Jameson versus Rogers. Step forward, please.
Taxi dispatcher Christine Jameson is suing her sister, bookkeeper Lisa Rogers, and Lisa's husband Kent for the return of belongings that she had stored. Lisa says Christine is a drug addict.
Miss Jameson, the defendant, Miss Rogers, is your sister, and this is your husband?
Yes.
This is not a very difficult case. Let me just get to it. Miss Jameson, it is your claim that your sister has your stuff. She took your stuff when you went to jail for a period of time. She won't give you back your stuff. You want $5,000. Your sister says you can have your stuff whenever you want it. It's in storage. All you have to do is pay the storage fee because she's not paying for it anymore. And the reason you're annoyed with her and this whole thing started is because she recently adopted your 3 children and the adoption was finalized in February of this year. Is that right?
Yes.
How old are the 3 children?
11, 10, and 9.
How long have they been in your physical custody?
Since 98.
Were they given to you by the courts?
Yes.
Your sister's parental rights were terminated?
Yes.
Okay. Why were you in jail the last time when your sister took your property at your request?
They said that I was under the influence.
So it was a drug-related arrest?
Yeah. But as soon as they found out that I was clean, they let me out of prison and off parole.
Fine. How long were you in prison?
A week and a day.
And when was that?
It was February 13th.
Where's your stuff?
In storage, I guess.
Her stuff in storage?
In storage, yes.
All of the stuff. Where did you get it from?
She was living with my father in a mobile home. Everything was taken out of the mobile home because he was evicted due to her drug trafficking.
All I'm asking you is, her stuff was taken out, furniture, clothes, everything else?
Everything was put in storage.
Did you tell her that you put it in a storage unit?
No.
When did she find out that you put it in a storage unit?
The day she got out.
Which was?
The 21st of February. I picked her up.
Why didn't you take it out the 21st of February?
Because it's in her name.
Did she go up there with you once?
Yes, April 7th.
What happened on April 7th?
I opened the storage and told her to take what she wanted. She took a small box of makeup. That was it. She didn't have room to put anything else.
Fine. Very, very simple. The court will issue an order that as soon as you pay the storage fees, Ms. Jameson, you can go and get anything you want out of that. You can empty it out, and you are going to do that within 5 days. Is that fine? Then you can get all your stuff. Why?
I can do it today.
Fine.
They have to be there,
Perfect. Will you put your hand down? Will you sign a notarized letter that she is entitled, as soon as she pays, all the storage fees to go in and take whatever she wants out of storage?
Fine.
What about my jewelry she has?
Do you have any of her jewelry?
Yes, I do.
What jewelry do you have?
I have a bag of jewelry. I paid $100 for this so she would not pawn it.
No.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Give it to her. You don't want to bother.
I don't want any part of it.
Bird, take the jewelry. Give it back to her.
What about my $100 I gave her for that?
You have 3 nice children?
Oh, yeah, of course I do.
Terrific.
Thank you.
You got the jewelry back. You go get your stuff as soon as you can pay for it. I'm telling you that she doesn't have to maintain the storage anymore after next month. Listen to me very carefully, which means the storage company has the ability to snip the lock and take your stuff and throw it in the garbage. So you have 48 hours, because you said you can do it today. So you have 2 days to go there. Pay for the storage. I don't know how much it is.
What about my dad? Doesn't he have to pay half of it? It says she put it in there. I didn't ask her to.
You want your stuff back?
Yeah,
you pay
I want
the
it all back.
storage. Do you understand?
That's fine.
Good. How much is storage?
$395.
You have the money?
Yes, I have the money.
Good.
Do I get everything that's in the storage?
You get everything that's yours in the storage.
I have pictures of her items.
Then she would have to have my dad pay for his other half. Why should I pay the full storage?
She's not having her dad pay for anything.
Okay, well,
you have to pay $395 if you want to get your stuff out of storage today. Do you understand?
Yes. Yeah.
Period. Goodbye. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may be 8 on the calendar in the matter of Allen versus Lindsay Isles.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Allen, you did babysitting for the defendants.
Correct.
On several different occasions, several different periods of time. And it is your claim that you are owed some wages because you were let go from your job.
Yes.
And you had worked 30 hours.
Correct.
The defendants, while they seem to acknowledge that you were owed wages at the time you left, they say they really owe you nothing because you made a false claim to Child Protective Services about the way that they care for their children, and they are counterclaiming in the amount of $3,000 because of what they say that you put them through. Miss Lindsay, when and where did you find Miss Allen to babysit for your children?
Well, Miss Allen was our children's first babysitter.
And you have 2 children?
We have 3, ma'am.
How long did she babysit for you?
This last time was for 9 months.
And prior to that?
It was off and on for a number of months.
And she was a good babysitter?
Yes, ma'am.
Took good care of your children? You
Yes,
felt
ma'am.
comfortable about leaving her with the children?
We trusted her, yes, ma'am.
Good. Miss Allen, then I'm going to come to you. I want you to tell me what happened that caused you to call Child Protective Services and when.
On numerous occasions, the kids would not have enough to eat. They would ask me, can I have some more? I was like, well, there's no more food. And I would offer them, like, okay, give me $100. I'll be more than happy to go to the commissary. It's base where the food's a whole lot cheaper. And you know, I'll get the food and stuff like that for them. No big deal. No, no, no. We're going to go out. We have our monthly budget. And every end of the month, they go to Sam's and everything, come back with the same thing. And we do the same thing over. The kids' shoes were too small. I purchased a pair of shoes for the 4-year-old girl. We had to go up 2 sizes, and that was in the end of '06. I bought the shoes for her, and I started working for them in August. So that time, her shoes were too small. We bought the baby shoes. She was not a year at the time, and the kids were not getting baths. The dad would go out of town. Every other week, he'd go out of town. No big deal. Mom said it's going to be a long week. Could you give the kids a bath? And I would. But when Dad comes home at 5:30, I would not give the kids a bath. I come in at 10:30 in the morning. The kids had the same clothes on that I put them in the day before. I was like, did you guys get a bath? No, 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 Miss Sandra, could we get a bath? So I was like, well, it's time to get dressed, so we'll just change clothes and we'll just go out and do our stuff and everything.
What did you tell Child Protective Services when you called them?
That the kids were being neglected and weren't being supervised properly.
Go ahead.
On one occasion, Miss Dasher told me personally that the neighbor down the street came in and told her that the oldest son was sitting, they have a 2-story house, and the son was sitting out on his window throwing things out. And the screen's missing, so he was throwing things out of his window.
What kind of work do you do, Miss Lindsay?
I'm a cook.
For whom?
For a company called Sodexo.
You work full-time?
Yes, ma'am.
And you, sir?
Systems analyst for the same company.
Well, you both have good jobs. You've been working for a while for this company?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any financial problems?
No.
Miss Allen, before you called Child Protective Services, did you discuss with Miss Lindsay and Mr. Lyles your concerns?
No, I did not.
You did not. Who is this lady?
It's my mother.
Would you step up, please? Tell me your last name.
Allen.
Miss Allen, when, if ever, did your daughter start to discuss with you the concerns she had about these children?
It was last year. She was seeing different things, and in our area they have a lot of yard sales, and she asked me if I would go out if I could look for clothes in children's size and shoes because they were too small, or the winter time. What she said, I'm not sure if it was the 4-year-old didn't have clothes that would fit her for the winter, so I was trying to find jeans and turtlenecks and stuff. And she would bring them over to the house sometime, and I would fix some lunch and everything, because she would say the cup of noodles, that was all they would be eating for lunch, and the sodium in that soup thing was kind of high for a child. So
did she discuss with you before she called Child Protective Services?
No, but she told me that, you know, something needed to be done about what was going on, and I told her, you know, do what she needed to do.
Okay. Do you have the report from Child Protective Services? I'd like to see it.
Yes, ma'am. I have 2, the original when they first came out on the 20th, and the second from the actual caseworker.
How many times did the caseworker visit you in the 2-week period between the date that the report was received and the day they closed the case?
Just twice. The first time, which is A, and then the second time, which is B, when they closed the case. Because on the first visit, she stated that there was nothing but discrepancies in the claims, that the allegations that was made.
Okay. Miss Lindsay or Mr. Lyles, do you have any motive for Miss Allen to have placed this call after the years that she spent with you taking care of your children?
Possibly, yes, ma'am.
Well, I'd like to hear what you think the possible motive is.
That Monday before the 20th, I believe it was the 16th, Miss Allen came in, normal day. I had spoken to her in regards to, we was paying her extra stipend for gas because she would pick our son up from school. So we give her extra money on top of her pay each week. Well, gas prices in our area were rising. And she came to me and she stated, Miss Dasher, the news said by Memorial Day, gas prices are going to be sky high. Can I please get more gas money? And I said, well, how much do you want? Because I was previously paying her $20 extra a week for gas. She said $30, and I said, fine, no problem. Okay, that was taken care of. Right before I was getting ready to go to work that day, I reminded Miss Allen that we were soon to be putting our two oldest children, the 4- and 5-year-old, in private school, in which we was going to be paying for private school, and the only one that would be left would be our 2-year-old. And once we're paying for private school, we wouldn't be able to pay her the same amount that we pay her currently for her nanny services.
Well, how much were you paying her an hour?
$7 an hour during the week, and if she worked on the weekends, it would be $9 an hour, plus the
So you
stipend
wanted
for
to pay her
gas.
less than $7 an hour?
I didn't want
No,
to.
we were cutting her hours back. That was what we were telling her.
Oh, you were just cutting her hours back?
Yes, it was more like a pre-notice to possibly a 2-week notice when the children started private school. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, and what did she say?
She didn't state much. She said, well, that's fine. By August, I planned on having moved out of my parents' home.
So she wasn't upset about it?
She didn't seem upset now.
She wasn't upset about that, so that's not a reason. I don't see any reason that she would have, quite frankly, Miss Lindsay, of making this phone call unless she had some legitimate concerns over the 3 children. And the fact that the state didn't find any gross abnormality in your house doesn't mitigate the fact that she felt as if you and your husband may have been a little overwhelmed with full-time jobs and 3 little children, working very hard. You have financial things in the works, private school and all that stuff. Whatever it was, I don't get from Miss Allen that she was being vindictive about anything.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Do you remember when she bought your 4-year-old shoes?
She didn't have any bills.
You mean she didn't have any bills, so she should spend the money on your children?
And later today,
Your Honor, she was tricked. She was
Listen to
duped.
me, sir. She wasn't tricked.
Yes, I was. I was told it was slate, and it's not.
No, it doesn't say slate pool table. It says pool table.
Sandra Allen says former employers Dasher Lindsay and Ralph Isles owe for babysitting fees. The defendants are countersuing, claiming Sandra made false accusations to Child Protective Services.
You have a reason she might call?
I mean, my sister told me that she was going through personal issues.
Well, first of all, that's hearsay. Second of all, going through personal issues would not necessarily mean she would take it out on you.
Well, it doesn't make sense that she would call. The things that were going on did not happen. I mean, she put our kids in danger.
How did she put your kids in danger?
Because Child Protective Services could have took them away.
Well, they could have if they found that they were substantially neglected or abused. They absolutely could have, but we don't discourage people in this country if they have legitimate concerns from making a report to Child Protective Services so that somebody can come out and take a look at a situation and make sure everything is right. Problem is, too many people don't do anything. And unless I find that there was some motivation other than legitimate concern for the children's safety, I'm dismissing your counterclaim and she's going to get the wages that were owed to her. Her mother seems to say, who is a lady that I assume you knew.
Yes, ma'am, we did.
That her daughter had confided in her previously that she was concerned about the children.
She never confided in us. Up until that day, Miss Allen and I had never had any problems communicating.
You may not have had any problems. Do you remember when she bought your 4-year-old shoes?
She bought my 2-year-old shoes.
Or your 2-year-old shoes? Do you remember when she did that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know why she did that?
I had just bought my 2-year-old shoes. She did it because
the 2 pairs of shoes.
Yes.
It is unlikely that she would have spent her money, the hard-earned money that the $7 an hour, which is the
She
minimal
didn't have
amount.
any bills.
What?
She didn't have any bills.
I have bills.
She didn't have any bills, so she should spend the money on your children?
No, she liked doing things for our children. She took them to McDonald's. She did things for them. That was.
So she was a really good caregiver.
Yes, she was.
We're not
Well,
She
then
had no right to
something-
call Child Protective
Yes,
Services.
she did.
There was nothing wrong with the way we
That's
raised
the
our
way,
children.
that's your perception, and you may be right. But if she's the kind of caregiver that you say she is, to her eye, these children were not being adequately cared for while in your care. And before the state takes children away, there has to be some overriding reason, because they got plenty of children in foster care. So if it's a question of children not getting more than noodle soup or not getting a bath every day, they're not going to remove children from a home. But that doesn't mean somebody who loves the children, as she clearly did according to you, should tolerate what she perceives as neglect. So your counterclaim is dismissed. You owe her $226 salary and $30 for gas. Pay her. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I've tried to talk to the parents on numerous occasions about different things.
She never tried to talk to us.
But they don't want to listen to me on different occasions, so why would they want to hear something about how their kids are being raised?
And she did, regardless of, what was said. She put our children in danger.
I did what I had to. If you feel like kids are being neglected, don't be afraid to call someone. You're not in the wrong.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Vas Nunes versus Moley. Step forward.
Alan and Terry Vas Nunes are suing Melissa Moley for the value of a pool table and bedroom set they sold her. The couple claims Melissa ultimately canceled her check.
Mr. and Mrs. Vas Nunes, you sold the defendant your home.
Yes.
And when you sold her your home, she also purchased a bedroom set and a pool table, independent of the purchase price of the home. I assume after the closing you moved out and she stopped payment on the check.
That is correct, Your Honor.
You want the money for the bedroom set
Absolutely.
and the pool table. Mrs. Moley says that the pool table was misrepresented to her as a slate pool table, and it's not a slate pool table, it's something called Slatron, and she's not paying for it. Was there a separate bill of sale for the furniture?
No, Your Honor.
And did the contract for the sale of the house provide anything about furniture?
No, Your Honor.
Miss Moley, how many times did you see the house before you purchased it?
A few times.
Well, what's a few? A couple is two. A few is more than two.
Yes.
Usually more than three.
Yes, few.
Let's pause for a moment, and I want you to think how many times you were in the house before the closing.
3 times.
Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Very good. And on each of the 3 occasions, did you see the bedroom set?
I believe I did.
And on each of the 3 occasions, did you see the pool table?
Yes, I walked past it.
When you came to the house, did you come alone?
I came at different times, once with the real estate agent, once by myself, once my husband met me there.
Okay. When your husband met you there, it would only be natural for you to show him the bedroom set and the pool table.
We weren't looking at the bedroom set and the pool table, we were looking at the house.
I said it would only be natural to show him the bedroom set and the pool table if you were interested in buying it.
We weren't interested in buying it until after he had come. We had asked them later on if they were going to be selling any of the furniture.
Then I assume that your husband saw the bedroom set and the pool table. So just answer my questions. Let's not play with each other. And I assume that when you went home with your husband, you discussed whether or not you would buy any of the furniture. That would be a logical thing to do.
Yes.
And both you and your husband decided that if they were prepared to sell the bedroom set and the pool table, you were interested in purchasing it.
I decided that, yes.
You decided that independently of your husband?
Yes, I did.
You felt as if you had the expertise to do that all by yourself?
Expertise as far as what? I just decided I was going to buy it.
And you made that decision yourself. How old are you?
39.
What kind of work do you do?
I stay home with the kids.
And your husband?
He works for Verizon.
And who makes the financial decisions in the house?
I do.
Okay. Now, on what date did you make this arrangement to sell the furniture, the pool table and the bedroom
In
set?
mid-January, after the contract and the approval to purchase my home, Ms. Moley had sent a piece of paper to my wife explaining she had interest in the bedroom set.
May I see the piece of paper? Do you have it?
And then on...
You don't have the piece of paper.
On 2/28, she wrote a check.
Can I see it, please?
Yes.
That would be February 28th.
Yes, ma'am. But prior to that, on 2/18, she did come to the house the first time initially to view the bedroom set and the pool table with her son, and we opened our home to her.
Just one second.
Yes.
Miss Moley, did you write this out? Pool table, furniture?
Yes.
So this is your contract?
Yes.
You canceled this check?
Yes, and I gave them a new check for the $450. I tried to reach them by telephone. We went to closing on the 28th. On the 1st of March, I called Terry Vas Nunes on her cell phone, which she had given me. I left her a message stating that I was disappointed the pool table was not slate like she had told me. She didn't call me back until 8 days later. So I attempted to reach them, couldn't get them. 8 days later.
Miss Moley, listen to me. You are responsible for this. This is your contract. Absent another writing, this is your contract. You agreed to purchase
a slate pool
from
table.
them. No, It doesn't say slate pool table. It says pool table. It doesn't say new. It doesn't say 2004. It doesn't say green. It says pool table and furniture from them for $900. This forms your contract. And when you buy secondhand furniture, if you want to be specific, you can either do one of two things. You can have an expert come and look at it before you purchase it. That you can do. Who are you?
I'm her brother, Your Honor.
Did you look at it before she purchased it?
She had called me on the phone. May I stand up?
Sure.
She had called me on the phone, and she asked me that they're selling the pool table. I said, if it's slate, she says $450. I said, if it's slate, it's a score, buy it. If it's flake board, do not buy it. The humidity in New York will destroy it. It's no good. It's not worth anything.
Well, why didn't you come and look at it?
Because I live a distance away, and she was making that decision immediately, and I told her, do not buy it. She called them up. She to confirm it. Is it
Listen
slate?
to me. Sit down. You weren't there when she called him? You can't report on anything that she said.
She told me it was slate when I asked her. Prior to giving her the check, I said, is it slate or is it wood? She told me it was slate. She told me the difference between slate board and wood. The balls don't bounce, the wood won't warp. It's slate. I didn't go looking under the table.
Did you have a discussion with them about that?
Melissa called me on the telephone after I gave her the $900 quote for the furniture, and she asked me if the pool table was slate. I told her I didn't know. However, I do think that it's Slatron.
In any event, there was no discussion, and there's certainly no indication in any contract that $450 of this $900 is ascribed to the pool table. The fact that you decided that the bedroom furniture is worth $450.
I didn't decide that. They told me the breakdown. There was $450 for the table, $450 for the furniture.
Then you should have
told
put
me
it
it was
in
slate.
the contract.
Your Honor, may I?
First of all, I don't believe that. I believe that what happened is they said, how much do you want for the pool table and for the furniture? And they said $900, or whatever they said, and you agreed on $900. In any event, you had no right to do this. When you buy secondhand items, it's up to you. It's a buyer beware. You have to make a judgment. And you had an opportunity to bring an expert in to look at the furniture. You had an opportunity to have your brother come down to take a look at it. But you gave them a check, and this is your contract. And your contract is to purchase a pool table and furniture. That's what you bought.
Your
You
Honor,
can't.
I'm sorry. She was tricked. She was
Listen to
duped.
me, sir. She wasn't tricked.
Yes, I was. I was told it was slate, and it's not. And Mr. Vaz-Nunez wasn't there.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Neither was he. And what your brother said to you was, listen, if they're selling you, if they're dumb enough to sell you a slate pool table for $450, it's a score.
No,
To
that's
quote
not true.
That's exactly what he just
He
said
did
to
say
me.
that, but it costs money.
I'm speaking. That's what he said. He said, sis, if they're willing to sell you a slate pool table for $450, these idiots, it's a score. It's a steal. Buy it. So you thought you were getting a real bargain.
It would have
That's what
been
he
a
told
bargain
me.
for both of them
Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $900. That's all.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. Simpkins, parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Bainbridge, you and the defendant had been married and you have 2 children together. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
What your complaint alleges is, pursuant to the judgment of divorce, your former wife got possession of a car.
Yes,
And she was to make all the payments on the car, maintain the insurance on the car, and you were held harmless by the court for any further responsibility for the car because it was going to be her car.
Yes, ma'am.
Subsequently, you ascertained that she filed for bankruptcy and listed the credit company that had made the car loan as a creditor, and that debt was discharged in bankruptcy, her bankruptcy.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are on the hook for the car,
Yes, ma'am.
and you think that's unfair.
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Simpkins states that she was forced to file for bankruptcy because of your lack of child support, and that you were noticed in the bankruptcy as someone who had to be noticed because of your on-paper obligation.
Right at the time, I was at NTC.
You were what?
I was in the military away on training.
And therefore, she's not responsible. So I need some information from both of you. When were you married?
We were married March 10th of 96.
March 30th.
30th, okay.
I always should ask the woman that question. March 30th of 1996. When were you separated?
July 25th of 1999.
That you remember?
Exactly. The date and time.
Any particular reason you remember that date and time?
It's when World War III started.
That's when the locks were changed.
Yeah.
That's when the locks were changed. July 25th, 1999. And when were you divorced?
September of 2000.
And who's going to show me a copy of the judgment of divorce?
I will.
Are you still in the armed forces, sir?
No, ma'am, I'm not.
When were you discharged?
February of this year.
Do you have an order of support for the children, sir? Because this judgment of divorce indicates that you have deferred all issues of custody and support to a juvenile and domestic relations court. Was that ever done?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a copy of that order?
I do not have a copy of my child support.
He's ordered to pay $805 a month if he exercises 90 plus days of visitation a year with the children, and if he does not, he's ordered to pay $896 a month. And he does not. He's never exercised visitation with the children.
All right. Ms. Simpkins, when did you file for bankruptcy?
We filed in September of 2001.
Why?
And it was discharged. Why? Because bills just got out of, I just couldn't make it anymore.
So for how many months did he not pay child support?
He didn't pay it at all for 3 months, and then I got...
That's incorrect, Your Honor.
And then I got in contact with his commanding officer, and I had to forward documents, and I said 805 because at that point my mother was helping me with child care, and that was a fair amount, and I could support the kids on. And then later on, the 805 was coming, and then Jason and I talked, and my mother wasn't able to watch the kids, and he was supposed to bump his child support up to the 896. And that never happened, and the military said they couldn't do anything about it, and so I was kind of stuck until he came home. And
well, whatever. It was 805. You were getting $805 a month pursuant to a court order, and it was coming right out of his pay.
Right. I was getting, but that was almost $100 short a month.
Well, he says that he's got proof that he paid that money.
Here's a signed letter from me and my wife, the ex-wife, the month that I went into the military, as far as my taxes were concerned. Our tax return was going to be applied for.
And he still didn't pay after that.
Well, it seems, Ms. Simpkins, that based upon this agreement that the two of you signed, this wasn't somebody who didn't pay child support. He paid child support, and when he was going into the military and there was going to be a hiatus, the two of you made an arrangement, whereas his tax returns were going to be split. You were going to get so much money, and he was going to get so much money on the returns. It's not as if he was a deadbeat.
No,
I find that your excuse that it was his fault that you filed for bankruptcy somewhat disingenuous.
Well, that was for a previous. I mean, after he went in and that money was applied, there was still no child support until I hunted him down.
You don't have to hunt him down. What you have to do is you have to apply for your allotment. That's what you do.
He had told me that he was going to Fort Bragg.
Yes.
He didn't go to Fort Bragg.
Well, who do you think that he has the ability to say, I want to go to Fort Bragg?
Well, no, but they told me that's where he told me that's where he was going to be stationed.
Maybe that's where they told him he was going. You think he was trying to fool you?
Yes.
You think he was trying to fool you? Not enough.
When I went away for basic training, Your Honor, I was going to Fort Jackson, and that's where I told her it was. And they found I was colorblind. I couldn't go.
Listen to me very carefully, madam. You may have filed for bankruptcy, and between you and the creditor who you owed money to on the car, the bankruptcy court relieved you of that obligation. However, you have a judgment of divorce.
Right.
You agreed to accept sole responsibility for the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Your judgment of divorce provides that if you don't do that, you are to indemnify him. Make him whole. Because it's your car. Where's the car, by the way?
We turned it in. I turned it into the car.
When did you turn it in?
Oh, gosh. I want to say September of that year.
September of what year?
2000.
And when did you file for bankruptcy?
Not until 2001.
So if you turned it in, you turned it in at the exact same time as you were divorced. And then all you wanted to do was clean your slate. So you turned the car in and you obligated him at the moment that you got a divorce.
No.
Yeah, you did. No. Sure you did. That was slick. Oh, that was slick.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You assumed the responsibility yourself. You're a big girl. You're big enough to make... That's baloney.
That is not.
That's baloney.
Yeah, ma'am.
And later today...
I don't care whether they're divorced or not. If she were the custodial parent and he came to me and said, well, we're not divorced yet, so I'm not paying for anything, I would wipe up the floor with him.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Bainbridge says ex-wife Jennifer Simpkins filed bankruptcy on a car in his name. Jason says the creditor is making him responsible for payments.
Why didn't you consent to him having both cars in the judgment of divorce?
because the divorce was bad and messy, and it was just...
Why didn't you say, here, you take both cars? Maybe you can sell them, maybe you won't get stuck with it. Instead, he's singing along for a year thinking you've got the car,
No,
you're
he
making
knew. No,
payments.
he knew.
You're making payments on the car.
Right.
You're making payments on the car. He's making payments on the other car, I assume.
No,
'Cause there
that
were
car,
two
he
cars.
turned that car in for repossession as well, so he wasn't making payments on that
That's not true, Your Honor. My father actually paid it off.
after it was repossessed.
So somebody paid it off, so somebody got it off his credit. Well, that's what your parents should have done with your obligation.
No, it's not their job.
It's not his job. You assume the responsibility yourself. You're a big girl.
He wasn't
You're big enough to
paying
make...
child support.
That's baloney.
That is not.
That's baloney.
No, ma'am.
How much did you owe on the car?
According to them, it's $4,353.10.
Let me see it. And that will clear your credit?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you called them with regard to settling this account?
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, and what do they say it will take to settle it?
Just the $4,350, what's stated on that piece of paper.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,353.10. Madam, you have to be a grown-up. You obligate yourself to do something, you have to do it. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was World War III. We didn't get along very well, but she needed to take care of her end of the obligation.
He left a lot of times, and I changed the locks, and that was it.
This is only one of many things that she maliciously did to me.
There was other women involved.
I can't buy a house. I can't get a car. I got to get a judgment on my credit, so now I got to get an attorney to get that off my credit.
For our children, he doesn't bother with them now, so I don't think he'll ever be a major part of their life.
It's been an everyday occurrence as far as her trying to get her payment on the vehicle. I'm glad it's finally over with and justice is prevailed.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Tarter versus Hughes. Step forward, please.
Bus driver Catherine Tarter is suing her estranged son-in-law, 25-year-old salesman Donald Hughes, for the cost of a trailer. Donald says Catherine is angry about his pending divorce from her daughter.
Miss Tarter, the defendant is your soon-to-be ex-son-in-law. And
Yes.
according to your complaint, he owes you some money for a trailer. Is that right?
Yes.
The defendant says he's paid you a substantial amount of money for the trailer, doesn't owe you any more. You have the motorhome that went with the trailer. He doesn't have it in his possession. It's not on his property. I assume this is your daughter?
Yes.
How long have you been married?
4 years, Your Honor.
You have children?
Yes, I do.
How many children?
I have a year-and-a-half-year-old daughter, and then I had 2 sons that came with the marriage that are still dear to me.
And who does that child live with?
I have sole custody.
Is that after a hearing, after a trial?
Yes.
Does their mother have visitation with the children?
No, she does. She has 2 hours supervised visits a week.
Does she exercise the visitation?
Sometimes.
Prior to the divorce, did you have a reasonable relationship with Mr. and Mrs. Tarter?
Yes, I did.
Is that right?
Yes.
How many children do you have?
I have 2 girls.
How many grandchildren do you have?
3.
How much money was this trailer?
It was $4,000.
Just for the trailer?
Just for the trailer, and the motorhome was $4,000, so they agreed upon $8,000.
And how much do you say it was, sir?
It was $4,000 altogether for both of them.
Is there a writing with regard to that?
We had a verbal agreement.
Is there a writing with regard to that, is my question.
No.
How much have you paid them for the trailer?
I paid them $1,950 for the trailer and the motorhome together.
But you only have the
I only have the trailer.
trailer. Did Mr. Hughes pay you $1,950?
No, ma'am.
How much did he pay you?
The motorhome broke down.
I'm not talking about the motorhome.
Okay, well,
He doesn't have the motorhome.
He paid us, I know, they returned it, so therefore all the payments that were paid individually towards the motorhome and the trailer were forfeited. And they were always...
Forfeited by whom?
By us. It was written down where when he paid us money, that $75 would go towards the motorhome and $75 would go towards the trailer. When one was given back in case they decided they couldn't afford it, or that it broke down, which the motorhome did, and they couldn't afford to fix it, they gave it back to us. So therefore, the motorhome payments, which were $425, was forfeited, and then $425 was credited towards the utility trailer.
All I'm asking you is that in writing someplace?
I typed up a legal contract because
Did he
at first
sign
it? He refused to sign it.
So the answer is you do not. Shh. You do not have that in writing. Is that correct?
My daughter signed it, and
I don't care what your daughter signed, madam. I mean, I happen to think that you're missing a few screws, and I'm going to tell you why. You have a 1.5-year-old granddaughter. Your soon-to-be ex-son-in-law has sole custody, which suggests to me that if you want to maintain a relationship, and it seems to me you enjoyed a reasonable relationship with him before, if you want to enjoy a reasonable relationship with your granddaughter, you should keep him on your good side and not sue him, because it would appear to me that your daughter had to be a pretty deficient person in order to end up at the end of a custody dispute with 2 hours a week supervised visitation. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Why would a normal person who has 3 grandchildren risk the wrath of their custodial parent over nonsense? Over nonsense. He's paid your money. And how much child support is your daughter paying for her daughter?
She's not, and they're not divorced yet.
I don't care whether they're divorced or not. If she were the custodial parent and taking care of the child, and he came to me and said, in the course of a legal dispute, and I said to him, how much money are you paying for child support? And he said, well, we're not divorced yet, so I'm not paying for anything. I would wipe up the floor with him.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Catherine Tarter says her estranged son-in-law, Donald Hughes, owes for the cost of a trailer. Donald says his soon-to-be ex-wife is a drug addict.
Now, I asked you a simple question. The simple question was, how much money was paid to you by him for either the trailer and or the motorhome?
$425 for the trailer and $425 for the motorhome.
Are you passive-aggressive? How much money was paid in total for both things? Just don't give me $425 for each. How much money do you say was paid in total?
$850.
Okay. And you say $1950.
Yes, I do.
Could you prove that to me?
No, I can't. I have no receipts due to my house being taken from my wife, and then when I got my house back, I had no paperwork, no receipts, no pink slips.
They say $850. What makes you think it was $1950?
Because I paid on time, sometimes a couple days late, but every month was paid since October of 2002 until December of 2003.
So far, is that right?
No, Your Honor, I have a payment schedule here showing. They were to pay $26 for insurance.
I'm not talking about insurance. I'm talking about how much money he actually paid to you. Okay. $1,450 is, by your calculations, what he paid to you. Not $850, $1,450, based upon this.
Your Honor, those payments were divided up between the motorhome and the trailer equally.
I just told you, he doesn't have the motorhome. You do.
No, we sold it since then.
Well, that's not my problem. That's not his problem.
Well, I asked him to return the motorhome when he refused the one payment and took it back.
Miss Tarter, you're not following me. If you think they owe you anything for the motorhome, get it from your daughter. Do I make myself clear? You are a very foolish lady. A very foolish lady. If I were in your position, I would not alienate the father, the custodial parent of my granddaughter. I would not alienate him. And for a very stupid reason, money. You did.
This has been going on for over a year.
No, that's not true. Because December of 2003, which is not over a year, he made a payment to you of $500. That's according to your own record.
But we sold it to him on March 03. Is when the trailer and the motorhome was sold to them.
Did you hear what I said to you? It's not been going on for over a year. He made a payment to you of $500 in December of 2003.
Yes, he caught it.
When was the last time your daughter sent any money for the support of his child?
March. That's not an issue. They're not divorced
It's
yet.
an issue, madam, if you're using your brains.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
March of 2003. Was she employed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where was she employed?
At Child Time.
Until when?
October of 2003.
And what did she do with her money?
I thought she was paying bills, but she wasn't. She was using it on drugs.
Was she placed in a rehab?
I placed her in a rehab in January.
Did she stay?
She stayed for 60 days, Your Honor. And then she went to was supposed to go to a halfway house, and she ended up getting kicked out of there for doing it again, drinking.
Where are her other two children?
One lives with his father, and the other one lived with the grandparents.
Ms. Tarter, I find that the defendant has paid you $1,450 for a trailer. I find that your agreement was $4,000 for the trailer and the motorhome, not $8,000. Whatever deficiency there is, I suggest you get it from your daughter. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
On the calendar in the matter of Frawley versus Shapiro. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Frawley, you and Mrs. Shapiro are next-door neighbors, I assume. Is that right?
That's correct.
According to your complaint, Mr. and Mrs. Frawley, the defendant's gardener caused some damage to a cover of a trailer that was on your property.
Correct.
And you want the defendant to pay for the damage to that cover. Additionally, you say that you were forced to put up two separate fences on your property, separating your property from the defendant's property, and you want her to pay for half the cost of those fences. That's what your case is about. The defendant has a cross-complaint that you maliciously cut down a branch of a tree that was very precious to her, and she says that you have been harassing her, so she has a counterclaim. So this sounds like a very untenable situation for people to be in, neighbors who don't get along. So let's hear about the problem with this tarp cover that was covering your trailer.
Well, on December 18th of last year, my wife and I returned home from work and noticed our travel trailer cover had sustained damage. We noticed or examined actually the height and the pattern of the damage and concluded that it was caused by the exhaust of a gardener's leaf blower.
It had burned like a 4-foot-long hole across the cover, and you could tell that it was a burn mark.
Let me see, you have pictures of it, I assume?
Yes, sure. That's it.
Okay, so you came home and you found these burn holes. What did you do?
My husband had seen her gardeners on our driveway before when he happened to be home from work a day when they had come, and he had asked them not to stand on our property because their backpack thing actually put some dents in our trailer. But when he mentioned it to them, they just kind of acted like there was a language barrier, like they maybe didn't understand.
So you had seen them standing on your property, blowing the leaves on the defendant's property through her property.
Well, I only observed them the one time, and there was an individual standing on her property and an individual standing on my driveway, and I asked the one standing on my driveway if he could conduct his business from her property, and he appeared as though there was a language barrier.
Right.
Okay.
So when this incident happened, though, I actually typed up a little note and put it in her mailbox, just asking her for the name and address of her gardeners, because they should have been the ones that we needed to address this issue with. And she chose to ignore my request.
You did receive this note?
I did.
So when that went unacknowledged, I said...
Why, just a second, why didn't you acknowledge this letter?
I thought it was harassment.
You did? Why would you think this was harassment?
Because it's been going on for some time.
Prior to December 19th, when had the plaintiffs communicated with you?
I have a dog that I walk every morning. They had acquired a very small terrier, allowing it to go to the bathroom on my front lawn. I ran outside and asked her to never let that dog go on my lawn again. And she grabbed me. I thought that she perhaps would throw me to the floor, to the grass.
When was this, Mrs. Shapiro?
It was last fall. I can't tell you the date.
What month?
Well, we'll say November, October. I don't know exactly.
October, November. Prior to that, had you had any difficulty with the
Yes,
plaintiffs?
they cut the tree. I have pictures here. They cut the crown out of the tree.
When was that?
That was in June or July.
Okay, so you had the tree and you had the dog, months apart. But this letter is very clear. This letter says, please provide us with the name and address and phone number of your gardener because he has damaged our property.
I ignored it because I thought it was more harassment.
Okay, go ahead. What's next?
Well, then I sent her a certified letter return receipt, and she refused to pick it up from the post office. So then I sent one via regular mail so that I would have all my bases covered.
Okay, and you did in fact receive this letter asking for $280.25.
I didn't receive it as certified mail.
No, you received it as regular mail.
As regular
And did you
mail.
do anything after you received this letter?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, then we ended up putting up a wood fence just because we could tell that with no help from the defendant, there was no way we were going to be able to protect our belongings from future damage without preventing them from walking on our property completely.
Let me see.
So this was the $1,400 we spent on the wood
I'm not
fence.
interested in the $1,400 fence. I'm interested in a picture of the
pictures?
fence. Okay, so now you have a fence up, so there's no more problem with the gardener.
Correct.
Good. That saves a lot of trouble. Nice fence. She's not going to pay for it. Put it up, you pay for it.
Okay.
What's next?
We ended up having to put up a chain link fence to protect the rest of our property because there was an incident where some stuff was stolen from the side of our house.
You don't think Mrs. Shapiro did?
No, I know she didn't do
it. Of course. So you put up another fence, and you also want her to pay for half of that fence.
Correct.
But that's not going to happen. Okay. Now I'll hear you, Mrs. Shapiro, with regard to these holes that were clearly burn marks. Did you discuss it with your gardeners?
I did discuss it with my gardener. I don't see my gardener. They come when I'm at work.
Well, then you have to be responsible for it. If you didn't make an inquiry to your gardener as to what happened, they have reason to at least believe, based upon what they had previously observed and based upon the burn marks that are in their tarp, that it happened as a result of leaf blowing and the hot exhaust coming out of the back of these machines. They asked you, please find out what happened. You clearly responded to them, I'm not doing anything. If you refuse to give them the information, they have no recourse but to sue you. Now I want to get to this tree business, because that's really what I consider the gravamen of your countersuit, which is that they cut down a tree that was on your property. Well, let me hear about it.
They didn't cut it down, Your Honor. They cut the crown out of the tree. That's the center part of the tree that grows the highest. It's a specimen tree. It's full grown. It was given to me by my nephew shortly after I moved into the house. This nephew is a very precious person, was a very precious person to me. He was dying of cancer, and he said to me, Aunt Jeanette, every time you look out your front door, you'll remember me. And so to me, it became a symbol of a tree of life.
Well, let me see what they did, Ms. Shapiro.
The pictures, Your Honor, were taken on the early part of March after I received the summons to appear. The damage was done in June or July of last year.
What, was the tree hanging over their property?
Some of the tree did hang over the property, but not that part of the tree.
We didn't trim anything that wasn't hanging over our property, Your Honor. Why would we trim the crown of her tree? That doesn't make any sense.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Karen and Brett Frawley claim their vehicle cover was ruined by neighbor Jeanette Shapiro's gardeners. Jeanette claims the Frawleys mutilated her tree.
Go ahead.
It was a full tree, and now it is in a V. It was even more drastically cut when it was first done. It's had 6 months.
Well, it grew back.
Yes, but the crown is gone. You can see
that
the V
may be,
there.
but if the crown was hanging over their property...
It was not hanging.
Well, I can't tell that. I can't tell that.
I understand that.
And if they did that in July, why didn't you register a complaint in July?
Because I thought this was just more harassment. I don't communicate with these people.
Why not?
Because she shouts at me.
Just a minute. Listen. In July, this was the first thing that you told me that happened.
It goes further back. It goes maybe a year or two further back. When she called me to her driveway and said to me, I want to talk to you, Jeanette. I walked over there, and she says, tell your gardener not to blow any leaves on our lawn.
So that's not harassment, Mrs. Shapiro.
I said, if you want to talk to the gardener, please, you have my permission to talk to the gardener at any time.
They don't speak English.
I don't know that they do or not speak English.
Well, he said he tried to speak to them, and there was a language barrier. So I assume when he says a language barrier, he means that they don't speak English, because he speaks English. Very unfortunate. In any event, I have no proof that whatever they cut from your specimen tree was not hanging over their property. It's impossible to tell from these photographs. But since you refused to give them the information which would have allowed them to pursue your gardener, you have to be responsible for the damage yourself. You have the bill?
Yeah, it's in that letter. It was the original amount that we had asked her for, the $280.25.
Judgment for the plaintiff, $280.25. Thank you.
Excuse me one moment.
Yes, just a minute.
I'd like to show you a picture of my side of the fence. There are 3 signs that are posted on my side of the fence that say, keep out, no trespassing. That's on a front patio of mine. I would like to have those removed. That's right in direct line of my front door.
Well, maybe her gardeners know by now and we could take it down.
Well, then let's talk about that, because these 2 signs, keep out, private, posted, are really unattractive. So why don't you take the signs down? It would be nice. She would like that.
Sure.
And I can understand that it faces her front door and it doesn't look nice. This just looks like a nice neighborhood. Got it?
No problem.
I got it.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
That tree was a very, very precious tree to me.
We tried to be cordial with the neighbor.
It means a great deal. It was actually a tree of life as far as I'm concerned.
You live and learn, I guess.
And now the next case.
All parties on Denon versus Avalos. Step forward, please.
40-year-old poet Cheryl Denon is suing her ex-boyfriend, 38-year-old steelworker Thomas Avilas, for the down payment on a car. Thomas says the vehicle was a gift in return for teaching her to drive.
Ms. Denon, according to your complaint, you met the defendant while you were online in a chat room. And at the time you were married, you began a relationship, I assume, on the computer with the defendant. Is that right?
Correct.
And then there came a time when that relationship developed. You ended up terminating your marriage, or your husband terminated your marriage. And while you were in this relationship with the defendant, after you and your husband separated, you claimed that you loaned the defendant $2,500 as a down payment for a new used car.
Correct.
That's not true.
Shortly thereafter, you decided that he wasn't right for you, and you terminated the relationship with him. You and your husband are now back together. You want your $2,500 back.
Correct.
When did you first begin to have this chat room relationship with the defendant?
I would say about December of 1998.
Okay, and when did you first meet him?
Possibly maybe 2 or 3 weeks later.
And when did you and your husband separate?
We separated in 1999.
When in 1999?
August.
At that time, did you begin a relationship with the defendant?
We had a relationship going on and off the whole time.
Okay.
And the reason for my husband leaving was because of that.
When did you give him this $2,500?
December of 2000.
When did you separate from him?
About 3 days before Christmas.
So within weeks of giving him the $2,500, is that right?
Correct.
And tell me about the conversations that took place prior to you giving him the $2,500.
Well, we discussed that we were, quote unquote, going to be a couple, and that he was going to teach me how to drive.
You didn't know how to drive?
No, I don't know how to drive. And he was going to help me regain some independence, which was good. And at first it was spoken that when I lent him the $2,500 that he was going to pay me back.
She said it was a gift.
Shh. Don't.
He said that he was going to pay me back when he got his income tax. Then, like maybe a few days later, we talked about, hey, well, we're going to be together. What's yours is mine.
Who said that?
Both of us.
So you said that?
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did, Tommy.
No. You said that. You said you both said it. So you said it. What's yours is mine and what's mine is mine. Right?
Yeah.
Well, isn't that the way it works? I can't say it any other way. What's yours is mine and what's mine is yours? That doesn't even sound right. Okay. Did you have any discussion with him about the $2,500 when you decided to terminate the relationship?
Yes, I did. He came over to my house maybe before New Year's, and he had Christmas decorations in my window, and I was not home. He took all the Christmas decorations out of my house that he had put into my house, which I would have returned them to him anyway. I did not want to keep them, okay?
Okay.
And I had come home, and he was there.
Well, did you ask him at that point about your $2,500?
Yes, I did. And he said to me, don't ask me about that if you want to be friends with me. And I thought that was very stupid because I was not going to be friends with him when there's other circumstances why I didn't want him that I found out later through the relationship.
Okay. Mr. Avalos.
Yes.
Let's talk about this car. Under what circumstances do you claim that she gave you this $2,500?
Your Honor, we had a deal. You know, we had a car accident. We had mentioned in my car.
What do you mean we had a car accident?
She was in the car with me in my van, and we had a car accident.
But you were driving?
I was driving.
So you had a car accident?
Okay, well, she was in the car with me.
She was in the car with you, but you had the accident?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Okay, so at that time, she made a suggestion, why don't you go buy a new car? And I said, where would I get the money for that? She said, well, look, let's make a deal. I will give you the $2,000 for a down payment, and you will teach me how to drive, and it'll be our car. I said, sure, that would be fine.
Okay.
Okay, so we go to the dealer, we pick this car out. I say, I really can't afford it. She says, look, I'll help you with the payments. I said, oh, you sure about this? She said, yeah. Now, she gave me $2,000. It wasn't $2,500.
I assume she's going to be able to show me that she took out or she wrote a check for $2,000.
No, she gave me cash. She gave the dealer cash.
I would assume you have the receipt for that. Does somebody have the receipt for what you gave to the dealer?
Sales slip has been returned.
To where?
To that dealer. When I took the car back, saying I can no longer afford this car.
How much was the entire purchase price of the car?
$5,000.
Is that right?
Correct.
So on Christmas Eve night, I had a call from her husband stating the fact that She's back with him now.
Okay, so they're back together.
And he would be around to pick up her things. So they came around the 26th, picked up things that she had at my house. Her husband had stated on the fact that he was going to come around and pick up the things, said, keep the car. We don't want it. If they were going to pick up half the car or come and get the car, they would have came and said something to me on the 26th.
Did you just say they're going to come and pick up?
Well, you know what I'm saying.
No. Listen to me.
Okay.
Look, you're not receiving.
Yeah, sure.
Did you just say to me that if they were going to pick up half the car, they would have come and picked up half the car?
If they were going to say anything about the car, he would have came around on the 26th and said, we want the $2,000 back.
All right. Mr. Avalos, listen to me. You just cooked your own goose. You said to me, your agreement with the plaintiff was, this was going to be your car as a couple.
Right.
And she was going to, according to you, put down not only $2,000, but also help you with the car payments.
But they told me to keep the car. They said they didn't want it.
They don't want the car.
Right.
They don't want the car.
So I took the car back.
What do you mean you took the car back? You never gave it to them.
No, I took it back to the dealership.
Fine. And what did you buy?
A cheaper car that I could afford.
How much did you pay for the cheaper car?
$4,000.
And how much later? 3 weeks after you purchased it?
Yes, about 4 weeks afterwards. It was in
You never
January.
like to say you're right. All
It was
right.
in
So
January.
4 weeks after.
Yes, Your Honor.
You brought it back. How much did the dealer give you for the $5,000 car towards the $4,000 car?
$2,500.
All this you don't have any proof of. You have no paperwork, you have no nothing.
I have the owner's card.
You know you're coming to court. You know, usually people bring paperwork when they come to court.
He kept the paperwork for the other car, so I don't have the
You
paperwork
make
for the new car.
copies. So if you have paperwork for the new car would have shown how much money he gave you for the old car.
True.
Good. Now you're getting better. So you used, according to you, $2,000 of her money to purchase this car that you are currently driving.
Yes.
And according to you, Mr. Avalos, this was supposed to be your car as a couple, right?
Yes, but on Christmas Eve, she devastated me. She said she no longer wanted to be the couple, that she wanted
Well, how
to
do you
take the
think her
car
husband
back.
felt?
Well, he's the one that told me, he said, keep the car.
And he wasn't talking about the car. He was talking about his wife.
They were divorced.
Because of whom?
Not because of me.
Because of the two of you.
Not really.
That wasn't because of you.
No.
When you started to
They
have
had
this...
problems long before I came.
Well, that's what she told you when she was talking to you in the chat room, but they were still married, right?
True.
True. All right. You got to give her $2,000 back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. It's case number 238 on the calendar, the matter of McKee versus Granados. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mrs. McKee, you have a daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant has a pit bull, right? Excuse me, Bird. Could you ask this young lady to either get a sweater or to get out? It's a courtroom.
A little improper decorum. You can find a sweater, you can come back in.
Now, it is your complaint, Ms. McKee, that the defendant's pit bull bit your daughter. The defendant does not deny that his pit bull bit your daughter, but he said it was her fault.
Correct.
Okay. Tell me your first name.
Rosemary?
Rosemary, do you remember when this happened?
Yes.
Tell me when.
It was July 20th at approximately 12:30.
In the afternoon?
Yeah.
Would you feel more comfortable talking to me up here, or you want to stay near your mom?
There.
Come on.
Okay.
Okay. Drop your papers. Want me to hold them for you?
Yeah.
Now, July 20th, where were you?
I was riding my bike across the street from my house by the thrift store wall.
And did you see the defendant and his dog?
Yeah.
Tell me what happened.
I was riding my bike and then I stopped. He was with a painter that was painting the wall, and I stopped and asked the painter what he was painting, and he said he was writing.
He was writing?
Yeah, he was writing. And then they both started laughing, and then so I started riding my bike and I pedaled like 3 or 4 times, and then the dog like went out and grabbed me.
Where did the dog grab you?
Right here on my leg.
On your leg?
Yeah. And I fell off my bike and I was screaming. They pulled the dog off of me. And
the defendant and the painter?
Yeah, and another guy. And then he asked me if he wanted to carry me, and I said no. So I hobbled to I hopped on this leg to the closest stairs by a building, and I sat there screaming and crying, and my friend went to go get my mom, and my mom was like really worried and stuff, and he kept saying he's sorry, and then all these people were watching, and they were like, what happened? And he said that I was trying to touch the dog and get close to him and like petting him and stuff, but I didn't even look at him or anything.
Did you have to go to the hospital?
Yeah, he called the ambulance on his cell phone.
He did?
Yeah.
Did the ambulance come?
Yeah, in like 45 minutes.
How many stitches did you need?
26.
Do you have a scar on your leg?
Yeah.
I would like to see it, so I'm going to come down.
Okay.
Unless I can see it from here. That's quite a bad scar.
Yeah.
Did you see the scar on her leg?
I haven't seen it, no ma'am.
Why don't you go stand next to your mom?
Okay. And there are the pictures when I got stitches if you want to see them.
Why don't you take a look at her leg? Because you should be able to see what I see. Okay, Mr. Granados, I read your answer. Why don't you tell me your version of what happened?
It's pretty much the same story, Your Honor. Besides that, she did try to pet the dog.
How did she try to pet the dog, Mr. Granados?
He was confined. He was on a leash.
Yes.
A 2-foot leash, which I was holding him the whole time. He was laying down next to the wall in the sidewalk, and she drove her bike up to both of us.
Where you were standing with the painter. By the way, what was the person painting?
A mural over some gang graffiti.
So she drove up and she said to the painter, "What are you painting?"
Correct.
Did anybody answer her?
I believe my friend answered her yes.
And what did the friend say?
A mural.
Is that what he said?
He said it's writing.
Writing?
Yeah.
At what point did she attempt to pet the dog?
Prior to that, she had rode her bike back and forth. So I really don't know exactly how many times she rode by, but around right after she had talked, it happened really quick.
No, I'm trying to picture this in my mind, sir. She's on her bicycle.
Okay.
She's a little girl on her bicycle.
Correct.
You see, if she was attempting to pet your dog, then the bite would have been on her arm. If she was on her bike, pedaling away, that is consistent with the injury that she has, because it's a bite mark to the back of her leg. So you explain to me how she was bitten when she attempted to, much better. Sit down.
I'll explain
When
to you.
she attempted to pet your dog, explain to me how she was bitten.
Okay. She was sitting on the bike. She reached over her bike to pet the dog. Her leg is closer to the dog than her arm is. She never got a chance to actually pet the dog. I had him on the leash though, so I pulled him away like no, because I was surprised that she was actually trying to pet the dog.
Why?
Because she didn't know the dog. She didn't know if it's a, I have a,
Okay,
it's a
so
big
you
dog.
pulled the dog away.
I pulled him away.
Right, and then she went to pedal away.
No, that's not how it happened.
Well, if you pulled the dog away, how did she end up with that scar on her leg?
Like I just said, when she reached over to pet the dog, he snapped at her, he bit her.
Good. Whose fault is that?
I believe it's her fault because she shouldn't have been trying to pet the dog. I had him on the leash. So
I don't believe she was trying to pet the dog, sir. I don't believe you. Don't believe you this much.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 10-year-old Rosemary McKee says she was bitten by Damian Granado's pit bull. Damian says Rosemary startled the dog.
She's on her bike. The injury that she sustained is totally consistent with the story that she tells, that she stopped, asked a question, and you and your friend laughed, and then she was pedaling away. She was pedaling away, and your dog just went for her leg. I don't buy this leaning over to try to pet the dog. If she's leaning over to try to pet the dog, that dog would have bit her on the arm, her hand, not the back of her leg. It's totally inconsistent with common sense. Were you there?
No.
So what are you doing here?
I came to pick the dog up. I'm a roommate.
You came to pick the dog up from where?
From the scene.
So?
I had called her because I had called the animal control people right after I called the paramedics.
Yeah.
Because I was scared, I was scared. I didn't know what to do with the whole situation. So I called the paramedics first, and I called the animal control, and they said, come remove the dog. You know?
I mean, she didn't try to torment your dog with a stick. She didn't kick your dog.
No, she didn't.
Even if I believed you, which I don't. She didn't try to torment, she didn't kick, she didn't scream, she didn't yell, right?
No, I think the bike actually is what scared the dog.
Well, that's what's in the street. Bicycles, cars, things. You know.
Yeah,
If you have a pit bull, then you get a muzzle. If you have a pit bull, you get a muzzle. Aren't there other breeds of dogs that perhaps you might be interested in?
Well, the animal control people said it's not safe to have your muzzle on a dog because it restrains his breathing, and he's never had any prior attacks, so I had never...
Now he has had one. She has to be compensated. She's got a scar that's going to last for the rest of her life.
Correct.
Yeah? So
Correct.
what kind of compensation did you offer her? Did you offer to pay her medical bills?
Yes, I did. I called the mother after I gave her all my information, my phone number.
Is that true?
No, ma'am. He has never called me.
You mean from the time this incident happened in July and your daughter was taken away by ambulance, he has not called you to inquire as to how she is?
Yes, Your Honor. He has never called to any concern at all, other than the fact that his pit bull might be put to sleep. That was his only concern.
Well, how did he relay that concern to you?
He was just about crying while he was on the cell phone while we were waiting for the ambulance.
After that, after your daughter was taken away by ambulance?
He has never called.
Still have the dog?
Correct.
I assume you spoke to a plastic surgeon?
Yes, ma'am.
When does a plastic surgeon indicate that they may be able to make some headway with regard to correcting the scar that she has?
Well, that would be 6 months to a year, which would include a scar revisal, which would include removing the scar 3 times and sewing it back together.
Why in the world, Mr. Granados, would you keep a dog that you know is capable of inflicting this kind of injury over, if I believed you, which I don't, over a child coming over just to pet your dog? Why would you keep a dog like that?
Prior to that, I did not know he was capable of any type of injury. We have kids at our house, and you
have kids at your house?
Correct. And
How
to
many
this
kids
day,
do you have at your house?
Well, just her nephew comes over once or twice a week.
Oh, you're an idiot. Judgment for the plaintiff and the amount requested, $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The police would not come because the dog was leashed.
Honestly, I'm devastated. If that happened to my nephew, if the dog ever did that.
The animal department would not come because after the attack, the dog was put into a car and contained.
I mean, they had somebody from the city come to the house, and they said the house was safe and secure.
They interviewed the dog.
Judge Judy has finally let my daughter Rosemary have a little justice.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Arvizu versus Lawrence, step forward, please.
36-year-old police officer Edward Arvizu claims Deborah Lawrence's daughter, 14-year-old Autumn, made unauthorized phone calls on his calling card.
Mr. Arvizu, you have a daughter.
Yes, I do.
And the defendant has a daughter.
Yes.
And your 2 girls were best friends
Yes.
for a long time. For how long?
About 8 years.
And then I gather that there was a time when your nephew, who lived out of state, came to visit you for a while.
Yes, it was early of April this year.
And the defendant's daughter sort of developed an attachment for your nephew.
Yeah, I believe so.
And then he went back home.
Yes.
What state do you come from?
Arizona.
And what state does the nephew come from?
California.
After he went home, you got a whopping telephone bill.
Yes, I did.
$1,042.42. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
So did you call a phone company and...
I noticed that I recognized all of the numbers.
And whose numbers were they?
The originating number was from my sister's house, where my nephew lives, and...
What were these, collect calls or?
Calling card.
Calling card?
Yes.
Oh, so somebody got a hold of your calling card.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The numbers that the calls were placed to were also familiar. My daughter said, "That's Autumn's number, Dad." So...
That's Autumn?
Yes.
So what did you do next?
I called my sister, sent her a copy of the bill. She was not happy, but was willing to accept the responsibility. And I also did the same thing with Autumn's mother. Sent her a copy of the bill. She told me
mailed a copy of the bill.
She told me that I got a call back a few days later that she would only accept responsibility for the calls that Autumn made. And at this point on the first bill, it was only like $12.96.
Okay. Well, that would be fair, to only accept responsibility for the calls that Autumn made. But then you got another bill.
Yes.
What was the next bill?
$1,451.40.
And how much of that bill is attributed to phone calls that Autumn made?
I only have it figured out with tax and from the prior month. For the second month, $1,349.35.
So she made all the calls?
Yes.
Next month, plus $1,296.
Yes.
So, $1,352.31.
When their nephew came to visit, a crush happened for both of them. It wasn't just one. She was 13, he was 17. Their son drove the nephew home, and apparently the son had left his wallet there because he had expressed to Autumn he needed to mail it back. How he got the PIN number, I do not know. But the calls originated from him. When he spoke to my daughter, he said, "Call me at this number," and
he gave her a calling card.
Well, he didn't give her a card. He gave her
the number.
a card number and a
Okay,
pen.
Autumn, did you recognize the number on that card?
At first.
You've called that number many times over the last 8 years, isn't that right? Because your friend lives there,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So you realize that card had the same telephone number as your friend, as the Arvizus, right?
Yes.
Who'd you think was going to pay for that?
I didn't think about it at the time.
Right, you didn't think about it. That's the
when
bottom line of it.
When he gave her the number and the pen number, the only calling cards that Autumn has ever had are the ones that you buy in stores. The pen numbers are not attached. They're ones that you create. And he told her this was, you make your own pen number. You make your own, you have the number, but you don't have a pen number. You make your own.
So what?
He told her it was his.
So what?
And that this was okay, and that when she asked how many minutes were on it, he said unlimited.
Did you have that whole conversation with him?
Yes.
You see, 13-year-olds are very smart, Ms. Laurent. 13-year-olds are so smart when it comes to these numbers. They know all about that.
No, they don't. No,
yeah,
at
they
least
do.
not my daughter does not.
Well, who do you think should pay this $1,349.35? Him?
No, I think that the nephew should.
He's 17. He's not responsible to pay anything.
He is the one who got the number. There is no way that
Listen.
she could have.
Listen to me.
She would
Listen
not
to me.
have done anything that would have caused somebody to pay a lot of money.
Responsibility. She lives in your house, right?
Yes, she does.
Did she use your telephone to call him?
Yes, she did.
To call him. How much of a phone bill did you get?
Because he gave her a number for a calling card that was prepaid.
Answer my question. Did she use your telephone?
No. Yes, she used my telephone.
But she did not bill it to you?
No.
And that's because she knows that calling costs money.
Yes. But
you know
thought she
how
was
long
using
you
a
have to sit
calling
on the
card.
phone to work up a bill of $1,362.31? A very, very long time.
Yes.
Now, in the second month, most of those calls came from her.
Well, he would page her on her pager using the calling card, and then she would return the call.
Your Honor, I have the bills here that show how many times she called. The times are on the bill.
Oh, she called him and sat on the phone with him, right?
Yes.
Is this the nephew?
Yes, it is.
Step up here. What's your name?
Brandon.
Where'd you get the card from?
I found it on the floor in my cousin's room.
And you knew it was
Just
the
the
wrong
number,
thing to
though.
do to have it, right?
No, I didn't find the card. I just found the number.
The number.
Yeah, it was written down on a piece of paper.
So what'd you use it for?
At the time, I wasn't thinking.
Well, you weren't thinking a lot.
Pretty much.
What happened in the second month? You stopped calling so much.
I just didn't call. I just paged her, and then she'd call me back.
Why?
I don't know. I just got...
What do you mean you don't know?
I didn't...
Did you get in trouble with your mother?
No.
Did your mother say anything about the first bill?
The second bill did not show up until, wasn't even knowledgeable until after they had stopped making calls because of the way that they mail out the bills. There was no knowledge of a second month until after the calls had stopped.
You have to accept responsibility for what your daughter did.
My daughter didn't do anything intentionally. She trusted this boy. He told her it was a calling card
what?
number that was
So what?
prepaid.
What? So what?
She
He's
would
the
never
innocent.
have done it. She would never have used it because she adores this family. She's known
What
them for
grade are you
many
in
years.
school?
9th.
How do you do in school?
Good.
Let me hear, what was your grade last semester in math?
A.
What was your grade in English?
A.
What was your grade in social studies?
A.
So you're not stupid?
No.
No, but
Judgment for the
naive to
plaintiff in the
rule.
amount of $1,362.31. Don't avoid responsibility. It's
I
a
was not
very,
avoiding
very
it.
bad lesson and message to send to your daughter.
No, it was
That's
a
all.
bad
Parties are
message for him.
excused. You may step out. Mrs. McKean. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Salas, according to your complaint, the defendant, who was your former boyfriend, and you went on a trip this past summer to Mexico.
Correct.
About a month afterwards, you broke up with, or he broke up with you. It was a mutual thing. I don't know. You broke up. And you claim that he still owes you for some expenses from the trip.
Correct.
He says he does not. How long were you away?
We were away for a month.
How could you get away for a month? You have a good job?
No, I don't have a job. I just saved up money 2 years in advance, and I sold my stock to go on this trip.
Had you been working before you went on the trip?
Yes. My last job ended in November, but I'm a full-time student, so.
Were you working?
Yes, Your Honor.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm in retail management.
And you could take a month off from your job?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, what was the arrangement?
We were going to go away for 1 month, July 10th to August 8th. And I was going to bring my own money. He was going to bring his. I brought $1,000 in traveler's checks and $1,000 in cash. About a week prior to us leaving, he told me he wasn't going to have enough money, and he wanted to know if he could borrow my credit card. And I asked him how he was going to pay for it. He told me that he was going to sell his stock when he returned. I knew that his portfolio had more than max on my credit card, so I knew that he was good for that amount of money. I agreed. We went on the trip, and we pretty much paid for everything 50-50. For like hotels, I would pay for my half in cash. He would pay for his half on the credit card. Everything else was 50-50. We made a conscious effort to do it that way so we wouldn't take each other's money. We came back August 8th. A little bit afterwards, I asked him how his stock was doing. It dropped dramatically, and he told me that because his stock dropped, he didn't have enough money and he wasn't going to pay me.
No. Sarah had been begging me for the last year before we went on the trip. Please, babe, can we go on a trip? I just want to go somewhere this summer.
Don't get dramatic with me. Don't get dramatic.
Anyway, she knew that if I went on a trip for a month, I'd lose a month in pay from work. So before we went on the trip, she knew I couldn't afford.
Don't tell me what she knew. I want you to tell me what you talked about.
I was going to bring some of my own money and pay for whatever I could. And she'd take care of the rest because she knew I couldn't do it otherwise.
No, just a sec. There's a difference between what you believe she knew and what you discussed. Do you understand? So I want to know what discussion you say took place before you went with regard to using her credit card.
Well, it was her credit card, and I wasn't going to be paying for it.
It's a lie.
I was going to pay for whatever I could afford to pay for.
No.
Okay.
With the money I brought.
Don't speak. When did your money run out?
I'd say about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks into the trip.
That sounds unlikely, sir. That means that there were only a few days left that you relied on the credit card. Is that what you're saying?
Well, she was using the credit card.
Let us say you went to a hotel. You stayed in a hotel for 28 days, various hotels. How were the hotels paid for, Mr. McKeon?
I pay for what I could in cash, and she'd charge it on her credit card or pay for it in cash with her money.
So what you're telling me is the hotel bills were, for the most part, paid in cash?
No.
Shh. So how were they paid?
Well, some of it was paid for in cash.
Yes.
I don't really remember.
What about your meals, sir?
I paid for some of the meals, and she paid for some of them.
Were any of the meals paid for with a credit card?
Yeah.
How did you contribute to those meals that were paid on the credit card?
Well, she would pay for those because I'd pay for a meal one day or for lunch, and she'd pay for a meal for dinner.
So what you're saying, Mr. McKeon, is that for the vast majority of this trip, you paid your own way?
Yeah, definitely.
That's not what you say in your answer, Mr. McKeon, that you signed and that you swore to. You said, I had very limited money. She really wanted to go and offered to pay for all the accommodations and any additional expenses incurred on the trip. All I could afford to pay for was my plane ticket and some spending money. Does that refresh your recollection?
Yeah, but...
Well, that's what you swore to, sir. And I assume that when you wrote this answer, you reflected on it, and this answer you said, you paid for your plane ticket and brought some spending money, but that she had agreed to pay for all of your accommodations and any other additional expenses on the trip. Now, is that what you're telling me?
Yes, that's true, Your Honor.
So you did not pay with your money for 3.5 weeks when you were on the trip. And then, as you just told me a moment ago, just a few days we used on her credit card. That wasn't true.
No, I helped out when
now
I
let me
could.
see. Now let me see your bills.
There's a breakdown, and also I have, this is one of the payments that was made. He made 2 payments to me. He made one payment to me of $40 so I could repay my mother back.
50.
Your Honor, that was
no,
just
and
to help
another
her
payment
out.
of
I was just trying to help her
and
out.
another payment of $50 that I paid to the credit card.
Your Honor, she told me that after the trip, she'd get a part-time job and make payments on the credit card.
How
and it wouldn't
can
be
I
a
when
problem.
No, don't speak to him. I want to hear him. GB, I want to hear him. Go ahead, let me hear.
She told me that after the trip, she'd get a part-time job to cover the expenses, to pay the credit card debt off, and it wouldn't be a problem. And then when we got back, she started asking me for money. Please help me with this, you know, I can't afford to pay this. And I said, well, you were going to get a job.
How much do you earn at your job?
Of approximately $800 a week.
You support anyone other than yourself?
No.
You have an apartment?
Yeah.
You pay rent?
Yeah, I have roommates, so.
Good. What's your share of the rent?
About $600.
I never heard anybody describe their rent as about $600.
You either know it or you don't.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sarah Rosales says ex-boyfriend Sean McKean promised to pay his share of a month-long vacation in Mexico.
Go ahead.
My witness here, my roommate, she heard him say that he was going to pay for it.
He's going to pay for it. Go away on a vacation for a month. You don't go away with any money.
I did bring money.
Did you bring just a second? Did you bring a credit card?
No.
Why not?
I don't have a credit card.
Why not?
I don't like credit cards.
What do you like?
I've run up debt before.
What?
I've just had bad experiences with credit cards. I don't like them.
You have stocks.
Yeah.
Stocks are good.
Not lately.
I understand that. So you don't like to sell the stocks when they're down, except when you owe money.
I don't owe money.
Yeah, you do.
Whatever.
Yeah, you do. But you have a problem, Ms. Rosales, and I'm going to tell you what your problem is. It's clear to me the following. You went away with $2,000. You say his portion of these bills, which total together are $3,300.
Correct.
That would mean that if you double that, it would be $6,600.
Yes, he also purchased things on my credit card just for himself. He bought himself a surfboard. When we went to Chichen Itza to climb the pyramids, he bought like $200 in souvenirs. I have a list of things that I know for sure that he bought for himself. He bought swim trunks. He bought just different things for himself that I didn't buy.
Did you buy anything on these credit cards, sir, just for your own personal use?
I bought a pair of swimming trunks, yeah.
What about a surfboard?
Yeah, I bought a surfboard because it would have been cheaper to buy a surfboard than rent one at the place we were at.
How much was it?
It was like $200.
No, it was $388.59. This is just of what I know that he bought for sure. There's other souvenirs that he has his whole room's full of souvenirs. I mean, he bought all of Mexico.
Well, on the credit card?
Yes, like he bought the surfboard at the hotel. So it
I
looks
see.
like a hotel stay, like that we stayed there, but he bought it there. Swim trunks, souvenirs is also.
Sounds to me if you don't have enough money, sir, that you watch surfboarding on TV instead of paying $388 for a surfboard.
That's no fun, though, Your Honor.
I didn't have enough money to buy myself
Ms.
souvenirs.
Rosales.
So sorry.
Yes, you
Ms.
did.
Rosales,
You bought
do not.
$2,000.
Shh. Hey, he owes you money.
Yeah.
However, you don't escape without a tongue lashing. If you're being stupid, don't expect me to be sympathetic. You don't give a boyfriend a credit card. Ever. No way. Nothing. You don't give anybody a credit card, especially somebody that you are not related to by blood or marriage or committed to by virtue of an engagement. Even then it's dumb and stupid. So you don't get any awards for brains.
I understand that, but I have loaned him money before and he's paid me back, so I had no reason not to trust him.
But I don't know how much he owes you.
It's $3,305.
I don't know or anything.
And 2 cents.
Oh, yes, you do. Oh, yes, you do. I guarantee you, as good as you think you were on this trip, you weren't. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,300. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She she wanted the money because she bit off more than she could chew.
I'm just ecstatic that she didn't believe him.
Pretty girls get away with everything. Justice was not served.
He's so full of it. He's just unbelievable.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Miller versus Hardesty, step forward, please.
19-year-old entertainment agent Jessica Miller and her husband, Howard Miller, are suing Jessica's cousin, 18-year-old carpet installer Stephen Hardesty, for breaking a lease. Stephen says Howard has a problem controlling his anger.
Mr. and Mrs. Miller, the defendant is your cousin. Whose cousin is he?
Mine.
According to your complaint, he signed a lease with you to live in some sort of property that you had for a year. He lived there for a couple of months. You claim he owes you for 10 months' rent because he left voluntarily.
Right.
And the defendant says that he was forced to move out by your husband, and therefore he owes you nothing. What kind of property did he rent from you?
My husband and I have a townhouse that we rent. When we signed the lease, he also signed the lease with us. We don't own it. We rent it from somebody else.
Your husband and you signed the lease when?
June 1st of 2001.
When did the defendant sign the lease?
Same date.
So what happened?
We had a few rules in the house. Before everybody moved in, we agreed on a few rules, being no drugs at all. It had to be quiet at night. You had to clean up after yourself. Just basic house rules. For the 6 weeks he lived with us, we had fights every other day about house rules not being cleaned up and stuff like that. One afternoon, his girlfriend at the time had said something to my husband about me, and when I got home that night, he said, "Don't talk to him, we're gonna have a house meeting when we get home."
Was his girlfriend living there?
She was, but she wasn't supposed to be. The deal with that was they have a child together. She was supposed to stay weekends so he can see the baby, and she could come over so he could see the baby.
Whose rule was that?
It was just an agreement we had until they got married, because she couldn't go on our lease until they were married.
Why not?
Because she's underage. She's only 16.
Shh. Okay, go ahead.
So she had an altercation with her parents to where she had to stay at the house. That was fine because the baby was there and there wasn't a whole lot of problems. But things just started getting out of hand. She wasn't working and neither was I. So we were supposed to take care of the house. And it seemed like it was me always scrubbing the bathrooms and cleaning the kitchens and doing everything. There was a lot of fighting going on. And one night in particular, they had some people over and they had a food fight. There was chocolate cake smeared into my living room carpet. I had an ornament that was precious to me broken. So I told him about it because I was very upset, and he was going to talk to them when they came in. And things got out of hand with them, and he said, "Look, Sarah's got to go. She's not on the lease. She's not even old enough to live here. She's got to leave." So that started a huge fight. And one thing led to another, and Steve said, "Well, she has to go. I'm going too." So he left, and he came back about an hour later with a cop to get a few things out of the house, and we hadn't seen him since.
What have you done to try to rent that other?
We can't rent it because his stuff is still there.
What's there?
His bed, their clothes, other personal things of his, paperwork they left there, boxes of other
What's all your
things.
stuff doing there?
I wasn't able to get a hold of them to go get
Well,
it.
the house hasn't moved. You take a police officer and you go over there with a truck and you get your stuff.
That is not why I had the police over there.
I don't care why you had the police over there. Okay. I'm going to assume as follows, that they told your girlfriend to leave, and you said, if she and the baby go, I'm going too, and I consider that an eviction of you. Do you understand?
Ma'am, at that time, the baby wasn't living there. Her mother had taken the baby.
Yes, because of all the yelling and screaming that her husband did. Whenever my daughter would see him, she
You
would
understood that
cry.
if you said Sarah's going, that he was going to go too.
No, because they had fought and she had left 3 or 4 times.
When did you physically leave the premises, sir?
July 19th.
Did you pay July's rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he pay July's
Yes.
rent? What was your share of the rent?
$375.
So August, September, and October, so far you didn't pay,
No, ma'am.
right? It's not a very difficult case. If you tell the girlfriend to leave, he's going to leave. You told the girlfriend to leave?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Mr. Hardesty, he says that he just told your girlfriend to leave. Did he tell you to leave too?
Not exactly, but once I told him that if she was leaving, I was leaving too, he said, fine, get your stuff and get out. And then he calls my wife a derogatory name.
When did you get married?
July 20th.
So
And-
did this all happen the day before the wedding?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And then after he made the derogatory comment, I told him to shut up, that I was not talking to him. And then I heard my wife get out of the car and say something, so I looked over, and then when I went to look back, he punched me in the side of the face.
Ma'am,
and then
that's
I
not
left.
how that happened
No,
at
ma'am.
all.
What had happened was our stairwell comes into our living room. He and I were standing on the stairwell, and he was standing in front of it.
No.
Sarah had said many, many comments that night about me being a fat, lazy because I did not work. I stayed home to take care of our home. There were a lot of derogatory comments that every single person here said something. What had happened when he said she has got to go, Stephen said, well, she is not leaving without me. So he said, fine, I'm leaving. He went downstairs, and as he said, I followed him down. I said, look, this is not the way I want things to end. And we pretty much agreed that it had to end that way. There was no other way. So he walked out to his car to see what she was doing. When he came back up, he came at my husband. And my husband just held his arms out to push him. So the step under our house, he just didn't make it up the step. And then when he got back up, he came at my husband, and my husband swung at him.
His arms were out like that, so I thought he was trying to tackle me.
No, ma'am.
So I swung at him.
Mr. and Mrs. Miller, since you have been required to pay the full rent for the months that he has things there which do not enable you to rent that part of your house to somebody else, you have to be compensated for that. You have to do, however, whatever you can to find someone else. But if you're going to rent the house to somebody else, you have to start looking. You can't start looking until he gets his stuff out. So this is what you're going to do. You are going to get all of his stuff. 5 days from today, all of your stuff is going to be out in the street. Do you understand?
Yes.
They are going to call Salvation Army or whatever else and have Salvation Army come the next day. So you have 1 day to get your stuff. Other than that, it's gone. Clothes, pictures, valuables, bed, dresser, anything else that's there. You got 1 day to get it.
Why should I only have 1 day when they
Because that's
told me
what
to
I'm
get
giving
out?
you. 1 day, unless you pay rent, which you haven't done. Do we understand each other? I'm going to reduce
no.
this to an order so that you can read it over and over again and understand it.
But what if all of my stuff is not out?
Sir, they don't want your stuff, and it's been 4 months already, and you haven't gone back for it, so I assume you're not missing it. Okay, so then you have a month to find somebody else, because I am awarding you 4 months' rent, or $1,500. Sir, you got a very narrow window to get your stuff out. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. That's all.
Parties are excused. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Who's Brian?
Me.
Who's Anthony?
Me.
Everybody else sit down.
Hey.
How old are you, Brian?
9.
How old are you, Anthony?
12.
Brian, you were riding your bike near Anthony's house, is that right?
Yes.
And something happened and you fell off your bike and you broke your tooth.
Mm-hmm.
Just one tooth?
2 teeth.
2 teeth.
Yes.
You want to tell me what happened and how it happened that you fell off your bike?
I was riding my bike up the hill, and then I saw Anthony washing his motorbike. So I said, bet you can't squirt me with the hose. And he ran up and pushed me off my bike.
You saw Anthony and he was doing a chore, washing his bike. So you said to him, I bet you can't squirt me with that hose? Why did you say that to him?
I don't know.
Well, that was pretty silly, wasn't it?
Yes.
Well, what if he started chasing you with the hose? That's what you asked him to do. You bet him, right?
Yes.
Would you have liked that?
No.
So what happened after you said to him, bet you can't squirt me with that hose?
He ran up and pushed me off my bike.
He did? Is that what happened, Anthony?
No.
What happened, Anthony?
Well, after he said that, like, I pretended like I was gonna squirt him with the hose. Like, I pointed at him. And so I started running after him, and then, like...
With the hose or without the hose?
Without the hose, because I dropped it because I couldn't reach him. So, like, when I was running after him, he was, like, trying to avoid it. So he hit the curb, and he flipped.
How far away from you was he when he hit the curb and flipped? Show me someplace in this room.
Well, right there, maybe.
Where? Walk up and point to it.
Right here.
Okay, now step back. So what you're telling me, Anthony, is you never touched his bike?
Nope.
Now, Brian, you were riding away from him?
Yes.
Is that because he was chasing you?
Yes.
So you're looking in the other direction? How do you know he bumped you off your bike? Did you turn around and look to see where he was?
Yes.
And when you turned around and looked to see where he was, what happened?
I saw him push my bike.
No, I don't think you did, Brian. I don't think you saw him push your bike. I think he was chasing you. But I don't think at the very moment that he pushed your bike, you turned around to look at him. You might have turned around and hit a curb and fell. And he was chasing you. And the reason you fell off your bike is because he was chasing you. There's no question about that. But you made up a little bit of fib when you said he pushed you, because I don't believe he pushed you. Understand? Because that was a fib you just told me, that you turned around at the exact moment he pushed your bike and you saw him push it and you fell off. That's a fib. That doesn't mean he might not be responsible, because he was chasing you. And you were trying to get away from him. But you started out by teasing him. Why were you teasing him?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. Here you go. Now, I understand that when... Now I need the two mothers up here, please. Now, I understand that when this happened, Ms. Sicklese, I understand that Anthony or you went and got Brian. Somehow he got to your house.
Well, my older son came in and said that Anthony had the hose and that Brian was taunting the boys. They race motorcycles, so he was washing his bike, and him and another little boy were taunting the boys.
Wait a minute, Brian, were you with somebody else?
Yes.
Who were you with?
Robbie, my friend.
How old is Robbie?
I think 9.
And was Robbie saying anything to Anthony and his brother?
No.
Just you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So he had warned them, you know, get off our driveway, and because they live far down the street, and so for them to be, you know, up there, and so Anthony, you know, had warned them.
They're allowed to be up there. They're just, listen, he's a 9-year-old kid. They're playing kids' games. You know, I bet you can't hit me with that bike. I bet you can't squirt me. And then they turn around and they ride away. Right? He decides he's going to try to get him with the hose. Hose doesn't reach. Hose doesn't reach. He starts chasing him. He's turning around, not looking where he's going. He falls off his bike. That's what happens. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out, unless you're trying to blame somebody else.
Yeah.
All right. So, but he came to your house.
He split his chin, and he had his knee was scratched. So I brought him in my house.
You brought Brian into your house.
Right. And I told the other little boy, go get his dad. Now, the other little boy went to go get his dad, not Brian's dad. And so I brought him in the bathroom and put like...
you took care of him as best you could.
Yes.
Well, who came to finally get him?
I took him home, and then I talked to the father, and the father was very upset, which I understood. I mean, you know, his child was hurt, and he was venting, and I was, you know...
Well, what was he saying to you? Step up.
That
what?
That, you know, that our kids have problems and they have no supervision.
Why were you...
And I was saying sorry.
Just a second. Why were you involved in that kind of conversation with us, sir?
Well, there was some admittance that he was pushed off the bike, and
Just a second. What did Anthony say to you? Did he admitted pushing him off the bike?
Anthony's brother was down there, and I said, "Where is the father figure?" I said, "There's nobody watching these kids."
Listen, your son was at their house. What's wrong with you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Does your street have two sides to it?
He was riding up on the sidewalk.
He's giving you baloney. Just because he's yours doesn't mean he won't give you baloney.
And later today,
We also have copies of the checks that were written.
To Amy, not to me.
But there is no way that Amy would steal money from my grandmother.
Listen to me, Mr. Hoffman.
You don't know about.
You don't know that.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 9-year-old Brian Jers says neighbor 12-year-old Anthony Sicklese shoved him off his bike. Anthony claims he never touched him.
Your son was at their house. They didn't come to your house. He was there, and he was teasing them. The lady brought him home to you because you weren't out there supervising him. He's 9. Quiet. He's 9. You weren't out there supervising him. She went in, took care of him, brought him back to you. So, I mean, I read that, and I said, why would a grown man open up a mouth like that to this lady? Any reason?
No,
or you
I
just
saw my
lost your
kid
temper?
I saw my kid covered in blood.
Yeah.
There had been prior instances with Anthony teasing my son, and I just, I made a couple of comments like
Well,
that.
then you were wrong.
Okay.
Because your son started it. You understand that? Okay. So, and if he got hurt, he got hurt. That's all. He's got to know he can't tease people, especially people who are older, people who are bigger. But we're not talking about a 9-year-old and a 25-year-old. We're talking about a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old who are about the same size. Right?
Yes.
So, it happens. That's what happens with boys. So you don't get that kind of upset, sir, especially to somebody who's trying to do the right thing. Now, I don't know anything about these boys. I don't know about their history. I don't know if they're wise, Alex. That may be. He may be a little bit of a Weisenheimer, this one over here. This one.
He's more outgoing than my oldest one.
Oh, well, he was one with the smirk on his face, so I wasn't exactly sure what that
He's
smirk
nervous.
was. Are you nervous? Am I making you nervous?
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
So he's like, he was.
I thought like you got that from my hair, so
Well, I thought you could use a little bit of a comb down, but that's, I understand that's the style these days, so I have to go with it. You're not mine. It's fine with me. Oh, I don't know what you were upset about. So you're upset because you saw your son injured. That doesn't necessarily mean you have the right to take off against the boy's mother.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Brian and Robbie were on their way up to Robbie's house. They had to ride their bikes past their house to get to Robbie's house. And in numerous incidents before this incident, these boys had stopped Robbie and Brian, saying they could not pass them on the street to go back and forth between
So
Robbie's
as a
house
result
and
of
my
that,
house.
Brian stopped and said to them, I bet you can't squirt me with the hose. Does your street have two sides to it?
He was on the opposite side of the street.
No, he wasn't.
That's
No,
according
he
to
wasn't.
Brian.
No,
He was not in the driveway, according to
No, he wasn't. He was on the drive. He was close to the driveway. He wasn't on the other side of the street.
He was riding up on the
He's
sidewalk.
giving you baloney. Just because he's yours doesn't mean he won't give you baloney.
I had another instance with Anthony.
I'm not interested. I'm interested in this one. And in this one, he started it. He finished it. She's not responsible. They started it. And I don't believe that he pushed the bike. I believe that he chased him and he fell off the bike. I don't believe he pushed him off the bike. You're not that evil, are you? Try to be nice to each other. That's what the world's all about. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They became very hostile after we made a police report.
We tried to settle it, but they didn't want to settle it.
Flipped us off when they'd go by my husband.
Wanted to get attorneys first, and this is where we're at now.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Smith Huffman versus Warden. Step forward, please.
26-year-old prep cook Amy Smith and chef Stephen Huffman are suing Amy's ex-friend, 26-year-old homemaker Kelly Warden, for stealing money. Kelly says Amy is pulling a fast one.
According to this complaint, you gave the defendant a certain amount of money.
Yes.
Money that she was to give to an attorney because you were in the process of seeking a divorce.
Yes.
It is your claim that she stole that money, never turned it over to anyone except herself. You want it back. Defendant says this is a whole story that's made up by you because you took this money from your grandmother and spent it. What does this man have to do with anything?
This is my brother Steven. He came down with me to get receipts and a phone number from the lawyer.
Oh, he's a witness?
Yes.
Why don't you have a seat? Okay. When did you first approach her about seeking some advice about a lawyer?
In December, I told her that I had to find a lawyer so I can do a legal separation or a divorce. And she said that she could help me out. I thought I could trust her.
Gives her qualifications to help you out with anything?
Well, she told me she already went through a divorce. She told me how much it would be if it was like $920. I gave her that money, and then she called me again.
Just a second. Why did you give her the money?
Because I lived an hour away, and it was like I didn't have a vehicle or anything.
Does anybody in your family have a car?
Yes, but they work, and I'm not allowed to drive their cars.
Go ahead. So you gave her money for the lawyer without even calling the lawyer?
I asked her if I can get the phone
Is
number.
the answer yes or no?
No.
You didn't call the lawyer?
I couldn't. She didn't give me the number.
Of course you could. Keep going, Miss Smith. So you gave her $920.
Plus $500 and something.
When did you give her the other $500?
She came up to New Berlin, up to my grandmother's house. My grandmother wrote the check out to me, and she said it would be better if I gave her cash and stuff, so I signed the check and cashed it.
And the money never got to a lawyer, is that what
No.
you're telling me? And when did you find that out?
My brother and I and my father went down to her trailer to get the rest of my stuff because I was moving down there, and then I decided to move back.
Moving down where?
To West Windsor.
So you managed to get somebody to drive you down
My
there on
brother
a Thursday?
took off work.
Listen to me.
Sorry.
You managed to get somebody to drive you down.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Stand up. Your last name is?
Hoffman.
In 30 seconds or less, you tell me what you know about this money.
My grandmother allowed Amy to borrow the money from her. We drove Amy down that day because everybody in the family thought, well, why didn't you get any receipts from her from this lawyer? So we finally...
Because that's what she was telling you. She was telling you that listen to me.
She basically
Mr.
manipulated.
Huffman, your sister was telling you that. And she gave her a receipt.
Handwritten receipts from a lawyer.
Miss Warden says that your sister asked her to write out these receipts because she had taken the money from your grandmother.
Yep.
Let me hear what she told you.
Amy called me up and said that she was in trouble, that her husband had just left her. He was filing bankruptcy. She says, well, my grandmother is going to give me a couple of checks. Will you please come up and take me to the bank and cash them? December 9th, we went to her grandmother's, picked up a check for $920, cashed the checks at Key Bank, and she decides she wants to go shopping. We went to Walmart. She bought me a numerous amount of clothing, my daughter all kinds of clothing, toys.
So what you're saying is she took this money from her grandmother. Now I want you to tell me, because I read it in your answer, what she said to you about these receipts that she wanted you to sign.
Her mother and father were harping on her for some receipts. So she asked me, she says, Kelly, could you please write me some receipts, please? I want one saying that I gave a lawyer $920. No big deal. I was helping my best friend. And then she asked me if I'd write another one for $1,420. I said, sure, no problem.
Those are the two receipts that you have.
So I wrote them.
These are the two receipts that Kelly wrote, and we also have copies of the checks that were written.
To Amy, not to me. To Amy.
That's true. They were written to Amy, but there is no way that Amy would steal money from my grandmother.
Listen to me, Mr. Huffman.
You don't know about.
You don't know that. Okay. Did your sister ever hold a job?
She holds a job, but she's very ill sometimes. She has asthma.
I have asthma.
Shh. Please, could you do me a favor and be quiet? I don't want to hear you again until I ask you a question. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Mr. Huffman, your sister's story doesn't sound true to me. Do you understand? And I know it's very hard for you and your family to say she took money from her grandmother under false pretenses. But somehow it doesn't make sense to me that what appears to be two relatively intelligent people, you certainly, your sister sounds perfectly normal to me, would say, I want to get a divorce. Take $1,420 and without speaking to the lawyer. First $900, needed more, haven't spoken to the lawyer. Another $500.
Us as a family were asking Amy, what are you doing? We said, why didn't you get information for her? At one point, Kelly called her down and said...
Did she ever say to you?
She had paperwork.
Shh. Mr. Huffman, did your sister ever say to you, could you take a day off from work and drive me to the lawyer's office?
I would have. Amy
Did your... So ask me the question. Did your sister ever say that to you?
No, she didn't. She was in a vulnerable state in her life.
No. Listen to me, sir. She did it because she took the money.
Amy did not use the money.
Yes, she did. Your sister's story doesn't make sense because she has family, she's close to her brother, and the reason she gives me for not going to the lawyer herself initially is because the lawyer was an hour away, and she doesn't have a car, she doesn't have an access to a car, but she has access to you.
Her husband handled all this stuff before, and she didn't know how to do it, and she wanted to do things on her own. To prove to us as family members that she could do something herself.
Did she ask you to help her move down to...
She asked my other brother.
And did he?
No.
Shh. Did he bring her... Did somebody take a day off from work? Who took a day off from work?
Friend of my brother's.
But your other brother did, according to your sister.
No, he did not take a day off of work.
What part of close your mouth didn't you understand? Close your mouth. Each one of those words has one syllable. I'm not trying to confuse you. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand, Mr. Hoffman? Your sister took the money and she spent it. She did not give it to her. She may have spent some of the money on her. She may have bought her clothes. She may have bought her things. But no normal person says, here's the money for the lawyer and I don't have to talk to the lawyer. So your case is dismissed.
That's why we went up there.
That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Why is our excuse? Step out.
He claims next-door neighbor Sandra Moten damaged his SUV when she backed out of her driveway.
Mr. Massey, you and the defendant share a common driveway. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And according to your complaint, on the 30th of October, you were watching out the window of your house and you saw the defendant backing out of her driveway. Your car was parked there and she hit your car with the mirror of her car. Is that right?
That's correct.
What time of the day was this?
4 in the afternoon.
And you and the defendant have had difficulties in the past. Is that right?
That's correct.
How long have you lived in your house?
I purchased my house in May of 2001.
And how long have you lived there?
1989.
What was the problem, Mr. Massey?
When I purchased my house in May of 2001, the lady I purchased my house from warned me that
Don't tell me what they warned you. That's hearsay.
Yes, ma'am. The problem, Your Honor, before my truck was hit, 5 weeks in a row, when I came home from work, my trash can was knocked over. I came home one day, I picked my trash can up. My neighbor, Mrs. Moten, came home and turned my trash can over again. I asked her why she turned my trash can over for the last 5 weeks. She said it was in her way. On Sunday, October the 28th, I had been outside in the front working on a home project. The defendant came home. We had a few words. What
did you say to her and what did she say to you?
The defendant came home that day and she said that I had some chairs on the fence. She asked me to move them. I went around back. I moved the chairs off the fence. When I came back, I was standing and looking out of the front door. My neighbor, Mrs. Moten, got in her car. She was backing out. She got close to my truck. She didn't hit it. She pulled forward.
Well, that's the same day. You said that was on the 28th or the 30th?
On the 30th.
And Ms. Moten, you say you did not do that?
Yes, that is correct.
But Mr. Massey, you say you have a video that shows that she did?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see it. Did you know he had a video, Ms. Moten?
From the officer indicated he had a video that around about 9:30 when the officer came to my home.
That is you getting into your car, is it not, Ms. Moten?
Yes, it is.
Are you watching that very carefully, Bert?
Yes, I am.
Did you see the car hit it?
I really can't say, Judge.
Could we do it again, please?
I can show you, Your Honor, right when the car hit.
I would like you to do that, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Right here, Your Honor, she hits my truck. Her mirror, you can see her mirror go under my mirror, and it hits my truck. I have some pictures of the damage of her car.
Can I see it, please?
And the damage of my car.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, sir. This is an existing scratch on my truck. These are pictures of the damage that she done to my car. And this is where her mirror scraped my truck.
Says this line is an existing scratch already on this truck, and the rest is where that line.
This line.
That line up there is where.
Put on her mirror.
Right.
Show the camera, please. Miss Moten, what I don't understand is, why did you pull forward again? You were clear of his car.
Oh, I put forward because I was trying to make sure I didn't hit his vehicle.
Miss Moten, you were practically clear of his vehicle, and then you pulled forward and you steered right into it.
But that's what it looked like. But
well, that's what it looked like. Right. My eyes weren't deceiving me. That's what it looked like.
Judge Judy, when I poured, we have parking spaces pretty tight over there where I am. So when I pulled out, I was pulling out and doing the best that I could to prevent from hitting his vehicle. I still say that I did not strike his vehicle.
You did.
Okay.
You did. But I don't understand why you were pulling out and you were practically clear of it.
Well, I
and then you pulled back. You pulled forward again. And you came that close to his car the second time. I don't understand that.
Well, I understand it because I was pulling out from my observation of it as far as me backing out. I was backing out to keep from, because you, from looking at the video.
Play that again for me, please. I want to look at it one more time. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, looking at the video, it does look that way, but as far as the
video doesn't lie, Miss Moten.
Well, I'm not saying the video is lying. I'm just saying I didn't strike his vehicle. I didn't do that.
You did.
See, my damage was on my car. That damage she said I put has been there on my vehicle.
Okay, now, you're clear
from that it looks clear, but
you were clear the
I'm
first
looking-
time you pulled out. You
Right.
were clear. Then you come back and you go right into his car.
Well, it looks like I went into his car, but
Well,
I
it looks
went-
exactly like you went into
Yeah,
his car,
but
madam, and that's what you did. Can I please see the estimate to have it fixed?
Yes, ma'am. I have two estimates, Your Honor.
Well, how much was the cheapest estimate?
$627, if I'm not mistaken. And I have a rental car reimbursement, and it should be in that stack also.
Well, I'm not paying you for a rental car, sir. Are you his wife?
Girlfriend.
Girlfriend. Do you live together?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a car?
Yes, ma'am.
Drive him around for a day while he has this car fixed. Listen, life is very, very short. You're going to be neighbors for a while. I'm going to suggest that you can either be miserable for the next 20 years or happy for the next 20 years. Unfortunately, you have a very tight driveway. Maybe you can get together and say, listen, I'm going to go into my lawn a little bit and take another foot, make cement out of it, and on the other side we'll do the same thing so we have a little bit more latitude getting in and out. Can you do that?
Well, it has already been done as far as on his side. The previous owners did do that.
Well, what about
The
on your
former
side?
owners.
Just say, well, what about on your side?
Well, I can't do anything because I'm in between two people. I have someone to my left and someone to my right.
Your Honor, if I may, okay. The problem that we've had with her is she chooses to park directly beside our car when she has enough room to park further over in her space.
Well, what I'm telling you is you can either have continued problems with each other or you can try to resolve it. Do you work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
Teacher assistant.
And you?
Work for the military, ma'am.
So what I'm going to suggest is that you devote more energy to the work that you do and less negative energy to the 2 or 3 inches that it would take to alleviate this problem.
Thank you very much.
No. It's not his problem. You hit his car. Madam, you hit his car.
I don't agree with that, but I
don't care whether... Put your hand down, sir. I don't care whether you agree or not.
I understand.
That's why you're here. You're
That's
here.
right.
I have a video, so what you want me to say is he was mistaken, the pictures are mistaken, and the video is mistaken, and you're right. And I'm telling you that you hit his car, and maybe if you were a little more flexible, maybe both of you, you could avoid a situation that makes it unpleasant every day. A little more flexible. Pull your car over a little bit more so that you don't have to be right next to each other. And if you don't want to do that, then what's going to happen is you're going to continue to be miserable. I, on the other hand, am not going to be miserable. You have your judgment, sir, in the amount of $627. If she hits your car again, you're going to get another judgment against her. I assume that you both have other things to do to keep yourself busy. What do you want?
I was in an accident, and that particular damage was
You
done
hit
on here.
his car. I saw it with my own eyes.
Well, I disagree, Judge
I
Shannon.
don't care
I
whether you
understand that.
disagree or not. You pulled out of your driveway. You were clear of his car. You pulled back into your driveway. But I'm
saying to you-
your car veered right into his.
What I'm saying to you, Judge
listen,
Shannon,
I'm not interested in what you're saying
that
to me,
damage
madam.
was on my
I'm
car
not,
prior to
listen
him
to me.
stating that.
I don't
That's
hear
what
a
I'm
word
saying
that
to
you're
you.
saying because when
I
I
understand
speak,
that.
I don't hear people that are trying to
understand
talk
that.
over me.
I'm not trying to.
Because I am the boss here.
I
You may be
understand
the
that.
boss in your schoolroom. I am the boss here. And if you're going to be thick like this table, then you're going to spend the next 10 years while they're living next door to you being unhappy. And what I'm saying to you is, move your car over. That's all. Step out.
25-year-old Kay Seychow is suing her former friend, 21-year-old Jessica Silva, for loans for a tattoo and to pay her cell phone bill.
Miss Seychow, you and Miss Silva were friends, according to what I've read in this complaint and answer. And you claim that you made some loans to her. Miss Seychow denies that there were any loans. She said that the friendship fizzled out over some man, and that's why you're here. What man?
My son's father.
She started to hang around with your son's father?
She started going on dates with my son's father and neglected to tell me.
So you got angry?
Correct.
Are you still dating him?
We never dated. We were just friends. They slept together.
Miss Seychow, when was the first loan that you allegedly made to her?
The first loan was for a tattoo on her back on March the 25th.
Tell me about it.
We wanted tattoos, so we went to the tattoo shop, and she picked one out and I picked one out, and we both wanted to get it done, but she didn't have the money. So she asked me if I can pay for it, and I said yeah, and then I'll just have her pay me back later. So we agreed, and then we both got our tattoos. No.
She acknowledges in her answer that you paid for the tattoo, but she didn't say that that's how it happened.
No. What had happened was me, her, and another friend of ours, we all wanted tattoos. At that time that she wanted to get it, I wasn't working. I was going to school full-time. And she said that she wanted to go get hers. I told her I didn't have the money at the time. And she knew that because I wasn't working, I have a son, I have other priorities, and that obviously was not one. She said that she'll put it on her credit card. I told her, fine, I'll pay half. I only have enough for half. She said, fine. I gave her $100.
You weren't working.
No.
You're going to school.
Correct.
You have a child.
Correct.
Child lives with you.
Yes.
You take care of the child.
By myself, yes.
Who supports the child?
I was getting help through the county for my son.
You were getting welfare.
Correct.
So you were getting welfare, and you laid out, if I believe you, $100 for a tattoo?
Correct. I had just got my taxes out in February. I got $6,000 back for taxes.
You got $6,000 and the government was still giving you money?
Yes.
This is some good country.
I would agree.
What else did you give her money for?
After we got the tattoo done, we went over to my place, and her phone was about to be shut off because she was late on her payment, and she asked me if I can also pay the $300 for her phone bill, and I agreed if she would pay me $50 each month in return. And she agreed, so I made the payment on my credit card, and I have the bill for that.
No. She wanted to go out of town. She did not have cash on her. I did. I had a phone bill that I needed to pay. I agreed to give her the cash if she put my phone bill on her credit card. I paid her. I don't know where that comes from. I don't know how she still brought that up.
Okay, if she did not have $170 to pay for a tattoo, how
It
she didn't have
wasn't the same
$300
day.
cash to give to me?
Show me the date of the tattoo.
March 25th.
And what was the date that you paid the phone bill?
March 25th.
Show me. No. You got the dates a little bit wrong. Tattoo time, which is where you had your tattoos, was the 26th of March, the day after you laid out the $300. So first, you paid for her phone, and then you paid for her tattoo. When did you have a falling out?
It was, I believe, about June when she found out who the father of the baby was, and then she introduced me to him, and then we...
Months later, between March and June, did she pay any money towards this alleged loan?
She paid just little here and little there, and the reason how she was able to pay me back about $150 was because I was doing laundry at her house, and each month I was giving her $25 to do laundry. Instead of giving her the money, I would deduct it from what she owed me.
Do you keep records of this?
I kept records of it, but then each time when I write it down and then my 3x5 cards get filled, I throw it out and then I start a new one.
Madam, how am I supposed to guess how much she paid you back if you don't know?
I don't have the other paperwork. That's
Well,
why
how
I'm
am
only
I
getting
supposed
what
to
I
know?
have. I'm suing her for $500, and that's what's on there.
Well, that's maybe what's on here. But that's not what, even if it was a loan, that's not what she owes you. So there's another agenda here, because when you have a loan, you keep records. The next time you make a loan to somebody, you write it down.
Yeah.
And you keep records. And you give them a receipt if they pay you back. You keep a book, let them sign in the book. Otherwise, you come to me, and what you're asking me to do is guess. Guess how much, if anything, she owes you. And I refuse to do that. Because I have a sense that this is more about this friendship and this guy than it is about anything else.
Well, she agreed to pay me back.
You don't know
$50,
how
but
much she owes you.
That's how much she actually owes me because I kept records, and that's
No, you
how much she
didn't.
owes
You're
me.
making it up as you're going along.
I wouldn't lie.
Put a period. Move on. You loan somebody money, keep records, keep a ledger. Not, I don't have any records because I put it on a card and when it gets filled up, I throw it out. What's the point in keeping cards if it gets filled up and you throw it out? This is a precise place that we're at. We're at a court. So if you make a loan to somebody, it's your responsibility to keep records. It's not my responsibility. It's yours. You got it?
I understand.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Marcus Mahaffey says his estranged mother-in-law, Patricia Strawn, owes for burning his work uniforms. Patricia claims Marcus is making up a story.
Mr. Mahaffey, the defendant is your mother-in-law. You are currently separated from your wife. I assume this is your wife,
Yes, ma'am.
and you have one child together.
Yes, ma'am.
I gather from your complaint that you, your wife, and your baby were living with Miss Strawn in her home.
Yes, ma'am.
And then there was some altercation involving you and your wife and your baby. You claimed that you left, and after you left, Miss Strawn burned your clothes.
Yes.
Miss Strawn says she did not burn your clothes, she put them out on the curb. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When did your daughter and her husband live with you? From when to when?
They're going to be married 2 years in September. Pretty much the whole time they've been with us.
And when did you leave?
May 23rd on a Monday.
Tell me what happened.
I had my mother pick me up from work.
Did she always pick you up from work?
No, ma'am.
Why did she pick you up on the 23rd of May?
I had no ride at the time.
Okay, she picked you up from work and dropped you off at your house?
My house was at her house at the time. I got there and I asked my mother if she wanted to see our son, Ethan, and I told her to wait 1 minute. I went up to the front porch after arriving at the house.
Why did you tell her to wait? Don't they get along?
To some extent. There's been some problems, arguments.
There'd be no reason why she couldn't have came in.
Okay, go ahead.
I went up to the front porch, and what I saw was Ashley and a couple of her friends smoking marijuana on the front porch, and my son was running around in the middle of them.
Where was your mother-in-law?
She was at work at the time.
Is this the first time that you saw your wife smoking marijuana in front of your son?
No, ma'am.
Was this a frequent occurrence?
Yes.
My daughter did. That's Miss Todd.
Don't shout out again. I let you do it once.
Okay.
But don't. Go ahead. Put your hand down.
After seeing what I saw, I had asked for Ashley to ask all her friends to leave at the time.
Well, you probably got angry. If what you say is true, you probably didn't just ask. You probably got angry and you were shouting.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you were shouting, and what did you do?
I told her I was going to my mother's house to stay for a little while, so I had picked my son up, and I did not want him to be around.
You picked him up and you walked outside with him,
Yes.
and you went to the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What happened next?
I asked my mother if we could come over there and stay for a day or two. She said that's fine. We had left and went to the house, and when we arrived at my mother's house, Ashley had called me and told me to give her back her son. And I said, not with you smoking marijuana around him. Until you can stop, then you can call me.
All right. Mr. McCafferty, I'd like you to stand up, please. You remember going over to the Strawn house on the 23rd of May?
Yes, ma'am.
When you went over there, when your son came back, he came back with your grandson. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me what he said to you when he came back?
He simply stated that they were up there smoking marijuana and he didn't want his son around it. And
Did he use the word marijuana?
No, ma'am. He pot.
Okay.
And asked me if he could come over to the house and stay and bring the baby, which at that point I told him yes.
Okay. Keep going, Mr. McCaffrey.
After we arrived at the house, Ashley had called me, and she told me to bring back the baby. And I said, no, not with you smoking. And after that, she had hung up on me. And I called Patty at work, and I had told her what she was doing, because before I had called her, Ashley had already called her at work and said that I had kidnapped our son.
Well, that's not possible.
And after that, I talked to her for about 20 minutes or so, and she said, why are you doing this? Ashley does not smoke. She hung up.
Ms. Strawn, are you thoroughly convinced that your daughter doesn't smoke marijuana?
Well, actually...
Just answer my question. Thoroughly convinced?
Yes.
All right. There's a very simple way to find that out, Ms. Strawn.
She's been tested. They turned her into defects.
Has she done a hair follicle test or just a urine test?
The urine test. She passed 5.
Just a second. Has she done a hair follicle test?
Nobody suggested it.
Very easy. We can take care of that.
Well, you'll have to do it to him, too, because he's bad as she is.
No, just a second. I'm not interested in him right now. I'm interested in your daughter. Urine test is nothing. But a hair follicle test will demonstrate when you smoked, how much you smoked, and it stays in the hair follicle for up to a year. So you understand that if I order a hair follicle test, if your daughter consents, the results of that test can be sent to any domestic relations court when there is an issue of custody and or visitation. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
Now go and discuss with your daughter whether she's prepared for us to take a sample of her hair and send it to our laboratory. Go ahead.
Like
go
I
ask
said,
her.
ma'am, if you
go,
do it to him,
no,
too.
just, he's not an issue.
Good.
Yeah. Fine, we'll do that. At the conclusion of the hearing, we'll do that.
Well, what does that have to do with what the case is about, ma'am?
Well, it has a great deal to do with the case, madam, because what you're saying is that your daughter doesn't smoke marijuana, therefore the story that he just told me about going up to the porch and seeing her is a lie. That's what you're telling me.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm saying, well, there's a very easy way to figure that out. It has nothing to do with whether he smokes marijuana or not. It's whether your daughter did, and you are committed to the fact that she does not.
Right.
You want to smoke dope, that's your business, but don't smoke dope in front of your child.
I don't, ma'am.
Or be around friends who do.
We weren't smoking pot, ma'am.
What were you doing?
Sitting there talking, and he took the baby without a car seat and left. And then at 6 o'clock in the morning told me to come. He smokes crack, too.
Just a second. Smokes marijuana? And you never... Stand up. Stand up. And what you're telling me is you never did it with him?
Yes, ma'am, I will admit to that.
All right. That's all I'm asking you, my dear. So your mother is mistaken. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
She is bad. That's all I wanted to know. That's it. That's the issue. Now you can sit down. You got it. Your daughter does smoke marijuana. She didn't tell you, but she smoked it with her husband. She says he smokes other things too. I didn't ask her about the other things, but she clearly smokes marijuana. Now we understand each other, Miss Strawn? Oh. Now, let's get back to your burned clothing. Go! And get there fast, because I have other things to do today.
We arrived at the house after her calling me, and I talked to
So
Patty.
you brought the baby back. Keep
Yes,
going.
ma'am. And that night, when I was talking to Ashley, I heard Patty in the background asking for marshmallows. I asked why they want marshmallows. Did they have a fire going? Ashley said, yes, they're burning your clothes. They want to roast marshmallows over your clothes. And I did not believe her. So the next day, on the 24th, I went over there to see for myself. Patty was not there. Ashley refused to show me any clothes. I just happened to walk down the driveway, and I smelled something burnt, a distinctive
Is that
smell.
burnt clothes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You want to show me one piece of the burnt clothing? I don't have to see the whole thing.
Your Honor, who's to say that he didn't burn his own clothes?
Me.
After everything he's done to me.
Me, I'm to say.
Okay.
I'm to say. Because I read your answer. Shh. Got it. Okay, you can put it away. Okay. Ms. Strawn says that she took your clothes and she put them out by the curb.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I did.
You can't do that.
Why?
Because he's a resident of your home, and you have an obligation to hold on to his property until he comes to get it, unless he... Put your hand down. Unless he abandons it. You have no right to take his clothes and put them on the curb, because if you took them and put them on the curb and burned them, you would be responsible. You have no right to do that.
But he has never as much as paid a cent living
I
in my
don't
house.
care. You allowed him to live in your
put it
home
there.
for
I
2
didn't
years.
want him
I'm
near me.
speaking to you. He lived in your home for 2 years. Don't get in the middle. You're really dumb if you get in the middle, especially if you have 2 children who are babies themselves, and I probably believe you that both of them smoke pot and whatever else. So it's very possible that you 2 mothers-in-law and grandmothers are going to have to be responsible for this baby at some point, because certainly they're not responsible. And I would suggest that you try to maintain reasonable relations. He's allowed to take his child.
No, he's not. There's a TPO
No,
against him.
listen to me. At the time he took his child, there was no custody order. And in this country, the United States of America, one parent does not have any priority over custody over another when the 2 people are married.
But it didn't have anything to do with him pulling up with pot. He wanted the baby, had his mom waiting in the driveway. That's what he did.
Miss Strawn, you weren't there, and the fact that you are so committed to the baloney story that you have concocted in your head, because I believe her when she says that when he came back with the baby and said she's smoking pot on the driveway. I believe he said it. You don't believe it?
I don't, ma'am.
That's your problem. In any event, you have to pay for his clothes. How much were the clothes worth?
The total for the uniforms was $508.
What kind of uniform?
My work uniforms.
What kind of work?
The job he doesn't have anymore.
Mechanic.
You really...
He just got out of jail, for God's sakes.
You are really thick. You're really thick. You're not paying attention to what I'm saying to you.
I'm paying attention.
No, you're not paying attention to what I'm saying to you. What I'm saying to you is you're supposed to stay out of it. This genius picked this genius.
Yeah.
The only problem... Well, this is your genius, Miss Strawn. If he's no bargain, that's her problem. This genius belongs to you. She made a baby with him. He's not going to be out of your life. And that doesn't give you the right to vandalize his property. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $508. That's all.
Al Friedman is suing the current owner of his previous home, Mike Zarba, for the balance of a loan and for disposing of his valuable war memorabilia.
Mr. Friedman, you had a piece of property, a home.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, at first you leased that home to Mr. Zarba. And then there was a discussion about him purchasing the home. He ultimately did purchase the home.
Yes.
He had some trouble with getting an appropriate mortgage because of some credit problems that he may have had. And you loaned him the closing costs, which were $20,000, with a promise that he would repay that money within 90 days.
60 days.
60 days.
Correct.
So first it is your claim that he owes you some of that money, $2,800?
As of, no, it's $1,800
$1,800
left on the loan.
The second part of your lawsuit is that there was an agreement between the two of you that you could keep some property at the house, which you claim Mr. Zarba discarded.
Correct.
Mr. Zarba acknowledges that he discarded the property. He said that he gave you enough time to get it out, and he's not paying you the $1,800 that he acknowledges he owes on the original loan because he was forced to A, hire a dumpster to get rid of your stuff, and B, he stored it all that time. Is that right, Mr. Zarba?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you first rent this house, Mr. Zarba?
End of July 2004.
And when you rented the house, Mr. Friedman still had some property there in both the shed and in an attic?
Yes.
When did you purchase the house?
April 2005.
And when did Mr. Friedman loan you the $20,000?
The closing, but we had an agreement where I did some work for him, so it wasn't really a loan.
Listen to me. When did he loan you the $20,000, which you acknowledge in your answer?
It would be the beginning of April.
And how long were you supposed to have to repay this loan, Mr. Zarba?
In about 60 days.
Good. When does your receipt indicate that you hired this dumpster to get rid of his property?
August 5th.
When did you tell Mr. Friedman that you weren't going to pay him his $1,800 until he removed his property?
It was the end of July, right?
July what?
20th.
And tell me about the conversation that you had with Mr. Friedman.
Well, he showed up unexpected again. He treated me like I was a mini storage.
Listen to me. What conversation did you have with him?
The conversation was, you need to take care of your stuff, get it out, and we'll settle up.
Well, he came to your property
Yes.
looking for money. He didn't come there looking to take his stuff. He came there looking for his $1,800.
Well, it was $2,800 then. I gave him $1,000.
And when you gave him the $1,000, you said, when you get the rest of your stuff out of here, you'll get your other $1,800.
Yes.
Is that what you said to him?
Yes.
And what did he say to you?
He said he was going to get it out. That was the only agreement we had.
And he said he would get it out.
He said he'd get it out.
Now, 2 weeks later, you disposed of his property.
Yes. Gave him till August 1st, in a few days.
Well, so far you didn't give him any time, sir. You didn't say that to me.
No.
You said, when you get your stuff out, I'll give you your money. That's what you said.
But I've been asking-
Listen to me.
Okay.
I repeated it twice to you.
Okay.
What troubles me, Mr. Zarba, quite frankly, is your answer. The first line of your answer is the most telling part of your character. Use nothing. We were overcharged for the home, considering its condition. And he's lucky we didn't charge him for storing the items. That you wrote. So what you're saying is that after you lived there for a while, and there were lots of things that you had to repair in the house, you didn't like the condition of the house, you said, I want to renegotiate in my own way the sale price of this house because I overpaid him for the house to begin with. You didn't write there that we had an agreement that we would store the stuff until August 1st. He didn't pick up the stuff August 1st. I hired a dumpster. No. The first thing that you wrote, the most important thing that you wrote was, I didn't like the purchase price, and I'm going to take another $1,800 out of the purchase price because I deserve that. That's not the way life works, Mr. Zarber. Is this your first house?
No, ma'am.
Well, I don't know what you did in your other houses, sir, but that's not the way you close a house. You close a house, you negotiate a price, that's the price. Once you purchase it, you don't say, I think I overpaid for this house. Let me see how I can get the price down a little bit. We understand each other, Mr. Zarba?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Mr. Friedman, I want you to tell me what stuff, and I want you to be very careful because I am an ecumenical abuser. I don't like when somebody tries to put one over late in the game because that's what he did.
Yes.
I don't like when you try to put one over on me.
Yes.
So I want you to tell me what valuable items you left in the house.
And I made a list, and I'll go
You sure
through
you
the
want me to
list.
look at that list?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to take a look at it.
The largest items on that list were two major important pieces to me were I had military boxes marked with military. I had a frame of when I was in Vietnam of a load crew in front of a plane that had my military ribbons on it. I'm a disabled veteran from Vietnam. There's also boxes I had marked with kids items that had finger paintings in it from the time that they were kids and just paraphernalia that they did through the years.
What you're really telling me is that the only thing that were there was your memorabilia. That is valuable because two wooden Santa sleighs handmade, 2 coolers, 2 sets of Malibu yard lights. I don't want to deal with that, sir.
Correct.
I had 10 years of postgraduate work. I don't deal with this. If it was important to you, you should have gotten it out. Now, you just disposed of everything, Mr. Zarba?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, that was the wrong thing to do.
There was nothing in there that looked like it was anything somebody would save. I've got pictures here.
I'm going to take a look at your pictures. Right now. Can I see the pictures, please?
I mean, this is what he left me. It's not pretty.
Well, the shed's not pretty. First of all, get a new camera or take photography lessons. I don't know what this is. Grass. I don't know what this is. I have no idea, sir. This is a whole major blur. Are you
I
doing
let
this
him
on
in
purpose?
several times.
Listen to me, sir. Are you doing this on purpose?
No, ma'am.
When you took a picture of the grass, I could see that this is
Yeah,
grass.
yeah.
This looks like a Hungarian goulash, sir.
It was in the attic.
Do you
The lighting
suffer from-
wasn't very good. I
It has
agree. The
nothing to do
pictures
with
don't
light-
look
listen,
great. but-
Listen to me, Mr. Zarba. This has nothing to do with lighting.
Okay.
This looks like somebody who's had a bad hangover took these pictures. All right. He had no right to destroy your property, so he had no right to take it away. He owes you $1,800 because he's a deadbeat on a loan that he made, and he owes you $1,500 for what he threw out. I'm speaking.
Yes, ma'am.
Suing him for $4,300, I think that's excessive, sir, for the junk that you left there for over a year. But he has to be taught a lesson that he can't dispose of your stuff. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,300.
Your Honor, can I-
That's it. Goodbye and
can I
good luck.
start-
Nothing.
What is our excuse? You may step out.
Lonita White claims her late fiance's sister, Kimberly Swan, refuses to hand over her share of his remains. Kimberly is countersuing, claiming Lonita has been harassing her.
Miss White, your boyfriend, according to your complaint, was killed. He was shot recently, and the defendant is his sister. It is your claim that she promised to give you some of his ashes.
Yes.
That he was cremated, and then changed her mind.
Yes.
Miss Swan says that you are no relation to the family. You were not living with her brother. You were certainly not married to her brother, which would give you any legal status if you were his wife. His family has his ashes. They intend to keep them. That's what the case is about. Miss Swan is counterclaiming for harassment of some sort. She'll tell me about that. When was your boyfriend killed?
February 15, 2006.
And how long was he your boyfriend?
For almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in July.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
Who is this?
My mother.
Just curious. If you had the ashes, what would you do with them?
I was going to keep it. That would have been the last thing I had left of my boyfriend. Well, my fiance, which she doesn't know we were engaged.
I don't care whether you're engaged or not. Engaged is not a legal structure that entitles you to any property, any domain over any of his realty or his ashes or decision-making with regard to what happens to him. You're her mother?
Yes.
I assume you're here for moral support.
And more, whatever I can support her with.
Okay. First of all, Miss Swan, how many siblings are there?
There is my oldest brother, and Marcus was my youngest brother.
You have parents?
Yes, my father is still alive, and my mother passed away 9 weeks before my brother did.
Okay, Miss White. So let me hear you.
Basically, the reason why I want the ashes in the locket is because that's what we had agreed to at the funeral.
When did you agree? And with whom did you agree?
Kimberly Swan and me.
And what did you agree?
That I was to receive a keepsake, which is a locket and an urn with his cremains in them.
Is that right?
The contract that we have, we agreed upon the funeral arrangements. They offered to buy his suit and the flowers, which they did. Everything else was taken care of by.
What I'm asking you is, did you make an agreement with her, either orally or in writing? Put your hand down. Either orally or in writing, to give her a locket with ashes from your brother.
Yes.
Okay. And what? Relax. Okay. This whole thing is ridiculous.
It is.
The whole thing is ridiculous. She's 20 years old. She shouldn't be walking around with a locket of the ashes of. You should be helping her get over this. She's supposed to move into the future. You're not supposed to help her live in the past. I am here to do a lawsuit. And the lawsuit is, was there an agreement between these two people for her to get a locket containing some of the ashes of her brother, and as part of perhaps a quid pro quo of that, did you pay for certain things for the funeral? You did pay for certain things for the funeral?
Yes.
So we did have an agreement. Now what I want you to tell me is why you reneged on the agreement.
When we first made the agreement, I was under a whole total different impression of why they wanted to help in the first place. I allowed for them to help, and this thing about her being the girlfriend, she was the ex-girlfriend. According to 2 days before he died, they had just broken up. But just because they broken up, that didn't mean I was shutting them out. She said they wanted to buy the suit and the flowers and things. I said, well, okay, I'll give you the locket. We have other family, you know, that want the ashes too. And this agreement...
Where's the locket?
Where's the locket?
Yeah.
The locket is at home.
Well, get it.
I'll get it.
That's what you made an agreement for. You made an agreement to give that to her. So far, I haven't heard a reason why you reneged on that agreement.
The reason why is because when he first got shot, Miss White had me under the impression that she wasn't there. But after the funeral, a lot of things have came to light. That she told me many lies about what happened to my brother. She said at first that she was not there, and now after everything is said and done with the funeral arrangements, her and her parents was in my brother's home when he got murdered. All lie after lie after lie.
All right. Miss One.
Yes.
You made an agreement with Miss White.
To give her the locket.
To give her the locket.
Not ashes, the locket.
Fine. Well, the locket contains ashes.
Yeah.
That's sufficient. These your brother's remains?
Yes.
All right, they're yours. They're yours. Put it away. Get over it. Your mother may be a co-conspirator with this lunacy, but, you know, I have limited patience with this. You're 20 years old. You have a whole lifetime to live. You're not supposed to walk around with ashes of your old boyfriend around your neck, whether he's deceased or whether you broke up with him. It's over. It's finished. You got to move on. But we're here to talk about contract. You had an agreement. And you have to fulfill that agreement. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Fine. And does that urn contain his ashes?
Yeah.
Bert, I want you to take that, please, and give it to me. Now, do you want me to keep these ashes in safekeeping until she gets the locket, or are you prepared to guarantee me that she will get it?
I'm prepared to guarantee her, but without all the harassment.
You are prepared to guarantee?
Locket, that's mine.
Just as, it's going to be mine in a second. Now, are you prepared to guarantee me that within 5 days she is going to get the locket?
Yes.
If she does not, we will send a marshal to pick this up. Do you understand that? There's no question about that. That's what I will do. I will send a marshal to your home to pick this up unless she gets the locket. Clear?
Yes.
Now you can return this to her, Bert, please. Thank you.
I have a letter from the funeral director.
I don't read letters from the funeral director.
This is the agreement.
I don't read letters from the funeral director. Pay careful attention to me. Nobody is opening up that urn and splitting up the ashes. It's not going to happen, Miss White.
But can I explain what happened?
I don't care what happened. You are getting a locket with ashes of your boyfriend.
I understand, but it's a total of 3 urns with his ashes in there.
I don't care. This lady, listen to me, look at me. This lady cannot do that because she is not really in charge of what happens to her brother. Because the next person in the family who is really responsible for making those judgments is your boyfriend's father. Made the arrangements, but she's not the person who is authorized by law unless he had a will. Did he have a will? Of course not.
Not that I know, no.
Of course not. But you have an arrangement with her to get the locket, which she has. She's going to give that to you because she promises me she's going to give that to you. Correct?
Correct.
Otherwise, we're coming to get that.
No, she's getting the
You don't
locket.
want to give that.
No, never. Never.
Fine. You want to say something?
Yes, ma'am, I do. First of all, I'd like to say that Kimberly has not been harassed.
I'm not asking you about that. I haven't gotten to the counterclaim yet.
Okay. About the funeral arrangements. My daughter was promised an urn and a locket. This is the letter from the funeral director stating the urn
agreement.
and the locket from Kimberly's own statement. That's all I'm saying. She's due more than just a locket.
Sit down.
No problem.
You didn't have on your listening ears. You should have.
I did.
You should know. You didn't hear what I said. Now I'm prepared to hear your counterclaim. Go.
My counterclaim is for harassment, which they have. They have been harassing me ever since after the funeral. Once everything was done and over with, then I get the harassment before the urn shipment even came. This woman had the audacity to call me, yelling at me, telling me that I did not love my mother or my brother. I had just lost both of them. How dare she call my house like that? Harassing. And then she sent somebody to my job. They came to my house one time by themselves trying to retrieve the urn, not the locket, but the urn. They want the urn. And there's a lot of trash talking. Her mother threatened me. Her mother threatened me.
Let me say this. And I want you to also listen. Sometimes when you lose somebody that you love, you're not listening, you're angry. And she's not listening either because her foot hasn't stopped moving for a second. Sometimes when you lose somebody that you really care about, and there's an overwhelming sadness, a much easier emotion to deal with than sadness is anger. And you always have to have someone who's going to be the target of that anger. It's much easier to deal with than the emotion that you really should be dealing with, everybody feeling sad. Because the truth of the matter is, that means nothing. You lost your, listen to me, you lost your mother. Was she cremated or buried?
She was cremated also.
Okay. You have her ashes?
Yes, I do.
And you keep them at home?
Yes, I do, right next to this one.
Having lost parents, I know. Listen to me. Comes a time when you go very often to the cemetery to visit because it makes you feel good. I used to go every week. Then in time, as time settles in, you go less frequently, which is a normal and, quite frankly, very healthy thing to do. I think maybe for you, let me finish, you're not listening. You want to talk so badly.
I'm listening.
You want to talk so badly. For you, it may be important for you to have the ashes of your mother and your brother in your house. I think it's dumb for her to have them because, you see, you will never replace your mother.
That's right.
And you're never going to replace your brother.
That's right.
She's going to replace this boyfriend. Now, the ashes that she so desperately wants today are going to be an annoyance 5 years from now because she really doesn't know what she's going to do with them. Does she give them to her mother to hold? Mother say, I don't want them. My husband certainly doesn't want to see him in my house.
Right.
My kids are going to look and say, Mommy, what is that? So there's a reason for you to keep those if that's what you do.
Yeah.
But there's an anger that is an emotion that you can actually grab onto. You got to get over the anger.
I'm not angry.
Good. You got to get over the anger. So does your mother. If something happened to you, I guarantee you, your mother would not give your ashes to a boyfriend.
That's right.
No way. That's right. Put your hand down, scratch all you want. But that wouldn't happen. That's really what they're saying. I don't want to share the brother's remains with you, other than the locket which she is prepared to give you, correct?
That's right.
Perfect. That's what you're going to get within 5 days. Your harassment, forget it. Get over the anger. Good. That's all.
18-year-old Christina Harmon is suing her father, William Tolan, for an unpaid loan. William claims Christina broke the terms of their agreement.
Miss Harmon, this is your father?
Yes.
According to what I read in the complaint, you made a loan to him.
Yes, I did.
Your father does not deny that you made a loan to him. He says, however, that as a condition of his repaying the loan, you agreed to stay in school and stay off of drugs. And he says that you didn't. So he's not repaying the loan unless he can put it in some sort of an account where you can't touch it until you're 21. There's a little bit of background here. Background, according to you, is that you didn't have much of a relationship with your dad for most of your growing up. You lived with your mother. Your father at some point was incarcerated for an extended period of time. He got out of jail. You developed a relationship with him, moved in with him for a short period of time. You got a settlement of some sort.
Yes.
How much was the settlement?
It was for $8,960 or $76.
$9,000.
Yes.
And it was at that time that he asked you for the loan.
Yes.
When was that, Miss Harmon?
He asked me for it November 28th of 2005.
Were you living in the house with him at
Yes,
that
I
time?
was.
What did he say he wanted the money for?
He wanted $2,350 to buy a new car and $600 to go see my stepmother's oldest daughter in Medford, Oregon.
That's not true. I never borrowed $600 for a trip from her.
Well, how much did you borrow in total from her?
$2,150. The vehicle was actually so Christina had a car. She had the money to do driver safety. We'd already set it up with
Just a second,
school.
Mr. Tolan. How much did you take out of your account and give to him?
I took out
$2,900 out of my account. I wrote a check to my bank.
Let me see.
It's this one right here.
It says $2,900, sir.
That's not what she gave me. She gave me $2,100, and my wife can
In a
attest to that.
check or cash?
Cash.
Okay. Let's say I believe you.
Okay.
Did he also give you a car?
No, he was going to give me the car, but then he decided not to, and he was going to sell it to my cousin once he got his taxes back.
Just a second. Did you ever have possession of that car?
No, I did not.
And title in your name?
No, I did not.
Okay.
That's not true, Your Honor.
She had title in her name?
She didn't have title in her name
Then
because
she didn't get.
she had the keys to the vehicle. They were
I don't
given
care
to
if
her
she
when
had,
she got it.
Listen to me. I don't care if
Okay.
she had keys to the vehicle. It's not her car. Where's the car now?
The car's in Salem right now.
With whom?
With a friend of mine.
That's not her car.
No, it's not now because she didn't hold up her part of the bargain.
Listen to me. When you asked your daughter for money, what were the conditions?
The conditions were that she stay in school.
No,
and not
you're
do
asking
drugs.
for money. You're the borrower. You don't set the conditions of the return of the money, Mr. Tolan. I don't think you understand how stupid your defense is. You say to your daughter, I want money. Let's say $2,100. Let's say $2,100. I'm not there yet, but let's just say $2,100. And you say, I'd like to borrow $2,100 because I want money to buy a car. And I will pay you back if you stay in school and if you don't do drugs. If I were your daughter, I'd say, take a walk. What kind of ridiculousness is that? I'm doing you a favor by loaning you $2,100 and you're going to set the conditions on repaying me? That sounds stupid. Doesn't that sound stupid to you? Does it sound stupid to you?
It sounds very stupid to me if that was the story, but she came to me asking for the vehicle. And I told her I would give her the vehicle on conditions because I was trying to teach her to be responsible.
I'm not talking about the vehicle. I'm talking about the $2,100 for your car.
I understand that. I'm talking about my daughter's life. I'm passionate about drug and
Listen,
alcohol
I'm
use,
passionate about the
and
truth.
I'm not going to let her
Listen
die.
to me.
So you'd give her $2,100 to go kill herself with?
Mr. Tolan, listen to me. I've had 5 children that I raised.
I understand that.
And I guarantee you, sir, I have not been in prison. And I guarantee you that I've been in my children's lives from the time that they took a breath. Okay? So I can guarantee you that I'm as passionate about my children's welfare as you.
Okay.
So what I'm saying to you is it doesn't make sense for you to say to anyone, including your daughter, can I borrow some money, but I'm only going to pay you back if you do this. If you get a job, if you stay in school, if you break up with this boy, if you stop hanging out with this person. Otherwise, I'm not going to borrow the money from you.
Okay, let's put it this way.
No, don't. I don't answer your questions.
Okay.
I don't answer your questions. What you're saying to me sounds stupid. And if it sounds stupid, it's not true. Judgment